Isn't this a sports show?
Read it one more time. What is it?
Let me click on it so I can get the full thing.
Yeah, what's the product description?
Okay, here we go. Push Pops Bubble Fidget Sensory Toys. Oh, well, come on. Okay, here we go. Start over.
Yeah, one breath, please. One breath.
Almost entirely.
Push Pops Bubble Fidget Sensory Toys. Funny relief, stress, desktop game, soft squeeze toy, logical reasoning, training toys for adults, children, Among Us Blue.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Here we go. Sweet'em Signatures, magnetic fingering, magnetic ring fidget spinner, toy upgraded hand spinner for stress relief, Christmas and birthday gift for kids, friends, and family.
Magnetic what?
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
For $50, you can get a dinosaur electric train set with remote control, smoke, LED light, sound, dinosaur world playset, dinosaur track.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Ah! Oh, sorry. I thought I saw Damian Lillard. I've been seeing him out of the corners of my eyes all day. I went to bed last night and I looked under the bed first to see if Dame Lillard was under the bed. Checked the closet. I'm not afraid he's going to hurt me or anything. I'm afraid he's going to pull up and drop a ridiculous 3 right in my face.
I'm afraid he's going to hurt me.
That's
Not
true.
Not physically, but emotionally.
You probably should be. Welcome into Almost Entirely Sports here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Joshua Brisco with Rudy Salazar, who you just heard. Beards McFly, who you're going to hear from right now. No. All right. Fair enough. My headphones are doing some interesting, kind of fun, quirky things over here. So I'm going to fidget with those and not with any of the things from the intro there. As we're going to have an interesting show today because the Royals aren't playing. They have a Wednesday off day, so we'll get to do some Royals talk. But also, if you are not aware of how this show's NBA rooting interests go, I am a fan of the Phoenix Suns, who are now up 3-2 on the Los Angeles Lakers after a blowout victory last night. Rudy Salazar is a fan of the Denver Nuggets, who are up on the Portland Trailblazers 3-2 right now, after Damian Lillard just eventually stopped knowing how to do basketball magic. And Beards McFly is a Boston Celtics fan who are in a certain position of disarray right now, bounced by the Nets. No shame in that, no surprise in that. But what happened today with the Celtics is legitimately, to me, really interesting. Because there are just a couple of things there that I don't think happen all that often. I've got a couple questions, a couple legitimate, hey, Beards, Boston Celtics fan sort of questions that I would like to get his answer from. And I also have lots of jokes that I would like to make at the Celtics' expense. So that's all out of the gate here today. Plus, I had I had a fine but grueling experience today. Pre-show, completely not show or sports related, that I'd like to talk about at some point. And we'll have a couple of guests tonight as well. Sterling Holmes of Darren and Sterling over on ESPN Kansas City, and all sorts of other stuff. Arrowhead Addict and Inside the Royals and all sorts. He does Arrowhead Addict podcast. He's all over the planet at this point. Man after my own heart. Just get it. Just everything you can get, Stu. Go get it. We'll talk to Sterling here at 8, and then coming up at 9, we'll talk to David Lesky of Inside the Crown about these aforementioned Kansas City Royals, because Adalberto Mondesi got hurt and did not play in the in this Pirates little mini series. But that's interesting. Brady Singer last night was pretty interesting. While not being excellent, was interesting. And the Royals are back over 500, so we'll talk about that as well. But let's start with the NBA stuff, because last night was bonkers. From every angle, last night was an incredible night of basketball. I could not tell you a time that I've had more fun watching basketball, partially because I'm a Suns fan and partially because I was flipping over between Suns Lakers and Nugs Blazers. But the other thing that was happening throughout some of those games, throughout the end of both of those games, is for like the second or third time ever, all coming in this playoff chunk, Girlfriend Renee was also sort of just in the basketball watching sidecar, and explaining Nikola Jokic to her was hilarious, because she knew the name on some level just from listening to this show enough. But I got to just be like, so see that guy? He's 7 feet tall.
The MVP.
He's 7 feet tall. He's probably going to be the MVP. No, not the guy who just forced overtime. No, not the guy who just forced double overtime. The sort of flabby giant that just passed a ball like a wizard. Not Washington, but like Mordor. Like he has evil wizardry powers with the basketball. That guy who is the 6th best player from Serbia. So that was happening. LeBron's Lakers, without Anthony Davis, who Charles Barkley called street clothes, just as a new nickname, got absolutely blown off the floor in Phoenix. Chris Paul got hurt again. Might be okay. TBD. Don't know if Anthony Davis is going to play tomorrow, by the way. Game 6 of Suns-Lakers will be here on 8:10 tomorrow night after Almost Entirely Sports.
Yes.
Starts at 9:30.
West Coast games, man. Just gotta start so late.
They are tough. Whenever I saw that we were going to have Suns-Lakers, and I was like, oh, cool. All right, so we'll probably go like 7 to 9. It's 9:30.
Yeah.
A 9:30 tip-off. But that's gonna be fun because we'll see where Chris Paul is at. We'll see where Anthony Davis is at. Can LeBron avoid? He's never exited in the first round, right? Like that's one thing that he has, I believe, over Jordan.
Correct.
So, and that sort of big, giant, ethereal conversation about greatness, that'll be fun. Last night, 2 games removed from LeBron doing post moves while Andre Drummond was imitating them, forming their own and one Knicks tape, which was pretty fun, honestly. I mean, I wasn't having fun because I'm a Suns fan, but it was pretty cool. 2 games later, LeBron leaves the floor with 6 minutes left to just head to the locker room, start getting worked on. Just a bunker series of events there, and that was by far the second most interesting game that was happening last night. So we should talk.
Third most, probably.
Not to me, but fair. What game was before?
I'm trying to even remember.
Some game came before Suns Lakers, but I wasn't watching. You were doing the show.
Nets Celtics. So never mind.
Yeah, not really.
Never mind.
You're a Celtics fan, and you forgot that happened.
I did.
But so I had a blast watching Suns Lakers. We'll talk more Suns Lakers later. The Nuggets Blazers game last night was. I was glad that girlfriend Renee had joined in for the Suns experience to watch me be angry at a television, which I'm just not really that often. I am during Suns games apparently, because I think that everyone who is sort of has a casual passing interest in the sport of basketball or in NBA basketball, I would have a hard time putting a more fun product in front of you than that game last night, despite the fact that defense was extremely optional, despite the fact that by the end, everybody was gassed. You got to see...
not Jokic, because
he's always gassed.
Elite shape. You
You
may
got
not
to
like
see,
it, but that is what the elite physical male body looks like.
You got to see the elite physical play of maybe the most dynamic player in the sport and Nikola Jokic.
Disrespect.
It was a blast. And for me, and I'll go to Rudy on that first. We'll circle back on the Celtic stuff, and I'll let the Suns go third on this one. But for me, the most interesting sort of macro part of that is that Lillard and Steph, and Curry obviously has won plenty, but Lillard and Steph, I think, might be the only 2 guys in basketball, and I'll take other nominees, who can lose games, be great, and then lead shows the next day as a positive. Because if LeBron can be great, but if he loses, it's that LeBron lost.
It's always negative. Yes.
If it's Anthony Davis or whatever, if it's Giannis, if it's Jimmy Butler, certainly if it's the Nets, right? If it's any of the Nets, Kyrie or Durant or Harden could have a huge game, but if they lose, that's going to be the lead. Lillard and I think Steph, but Lillard obviously hasn't really won anything meaningful, really. The fact that Lillard can do that in Portland and then lead headlines despite losing that game, I find really interesting. I'm not totally sure why that happens, but I think it's kind of interesting.
I think it's because Steph's won, obviously.
Right,
So he's got the excuse of
Totally.
His team's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
Lillard's had moments like this before in the playoffs. Like he's got
incredible ones.
He's got 2 series winning shots.
Yeah.
He's had big moments. It's just the fact that his teams have always run up against better teams. Like they played the Warriors twice.
Right.
I think once when they had might be both times when they had Durant. But they're not beating those teams. So he's had less success because he's played better teams, but he's still had exceptional moments.
We don't allow that very often, though, Beards. That's sort of the thing where it's, again, not as a critique, but just we just don't do that for anybody.
He's checked off everything on the checklist except for MVP and championship.
But
again,
how often
but
is that the essence of these dumb conversations?
Yeah, but that's the point, that's the point of the argument, though. That's why he's unique, because generally that doesn't matter.
Well, like the example of Giannis.
Yeah.
Giannis isn't winning MVP this year because he won it the last 2 years and flamed out in the playoffs both times.
Right. But he gets the individual hardware there, and you're right. But I would say even then, whenever the Bucks lose, Giannis could. By the way, I did not. Partially because I wasn't in for the full game, because I did start with a significant dose of Suns Lakers. I had no idea that Jokic's stat line was what it was until this morning, because it was all about Lillard, and Jokic just works different. But to that point, though, Beards, again, like I don't think whenever Giannis does something incredible and the Bucks lose, everyone just goes, "Oh boy!" Yeah, the whole. Nobody anywhere is calling Damian Lillard a bum today, or saying that he needs help, or that he needs, or that he needs to do more. It's all about his surroundings and how great he was. No, that's true. I misspoke, because there's talk about putting more around him, not that he needs to do more.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really interesting. And I guess it's because partially perhaps because of the level of competition, but also he's just, for whatever reason, he occupies a space where he, I think it was the shot that he got, not after the foul call, the shot that sent it to overtime, it was that huge sidestep and pull up, and it was like, holy smokes.
He hit one right before that, too, to, I think, get it even that close.
I think you're right. And then to force double overtime, he literally spun around. Joel do a 180 Embiid, like from the Jeopardy question.
Yes.
It was Dame do a 180 Lillard. And whenever he hit that shot, Renee, who has watched 7 total basketball games, less than that, but has probably seen parts of 7 total basketball games, at least as far as in like her adult life, she went like, "Oh my God, what?" And I was like, "I know, he just does that. He did it twice in this game." And I just think that maybe there's something different between incredible physical, just like dudes throwing dunks down like crazy. There's something that maybe you could even give some sort of credit to Steph for popularizing this, but that Curry and Lillard both have, of just like, well, that shot's not going to go in. It went in, because it always goes in. It goes in every time. I just think it's really interesting, because we do not extend that kind of understanding to anybody else in that sport. Or really, probably other sports.
I would say just about it. It depends on the sport, right? Like receivers can get that, I think, in football, because there's just the acknowledgement that they can't go win a title, right? They can't go win games because they're just limited by
whoever's throwing the ball.
Yeah,
right.
But like quarterbacks have that issue, right? Like Patrick Mahomes has is well liked at this point, right? And there's not a ton to say bad about him because he's won MVP, because he's won Super Bowls. If Patrick Mahomes kept losing in the AFC. Well, yes. If he had kept losing in the AFC Championship game
last year,
then like it's not like, you know what I mean? Like we're not having, like, Patrick Mahomes is not as likable as that's what the conversation is. He's now in, which he's kind of already in the LeBron. We've talked about this in the LeBron territory, where people are kind of already tired of him, and so you start like Josh Allen's actually the MVP this year, and not Patrick Mahomes, but. The conversation around Patrick Holmes would be a lot different if he hadn't won the Super Bowl, if he hadn't won the MVPs. Yeah,
for sure. There was a tweet that popped up last night that Kofi on Twitter, Kofie, a good Twitter follow. He retweeted this and said this, but with Lillard and the Blazers. But it was a tweet I had not seen before that I liked very much, from Matt Tomic on Twitter. This is from early in May. Every time I see an Angels highlight, it's like Mike Trout hit 3 home runs and raised his average to 528, while Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle of the 1921 Akron Groomsmen, as the Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3. And there's a little bit of that with, I liked that call from Kofi of like, there's a little bit of that with Lillard of like, and he shot Beards. Give me a Lillard stat. I know you've got at least a couple Lillard stats, right? From last night.
Yeah, this is the fun one. Last night, Damian Lillard took 2 more shots than C.J. McCollum did and scored 37 more points.
Oof.
And lost to a guy who's built like me, but a 1.5 feet taller.
A Greek god, some say.
Sure, that's what I would say with the analogy I just gave.
The Serbian god?
A Serbian god, an ancient Serbian
The
god.
seventh best Serbian god.
Sixth.
Okay, that's fair.
Sixth. The sixth best Serbian god. Ed lost to the Tiger. Lost to the Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3.
He had an offensive rating of 192.
And they're down. And they're down 3-2 in the series. To Austin Rivers and a clunkily cast mobster. It's bonkers.
The Nuggets backcourt right now. It is Damian Lillard
and
and CJ McCollum versus Facu and Austin Rivers. And last night it wasn't Campazzo. It was Marcus Howard mostly.
Monte Morris.
Well, Monte Morris is their backup point guard.
Right.
Like even he would be starting because earlier in the year when Jamal went down, he was inserted as the starter. He was like, no, I want to be the back. I like coming off the bench. But they started like Marcus Howard got the majority of the minutes early on before Monte came in and like started taking it over with. But it was Marcus and Austin Rivers. Marcus Howard, undrafted free agent on a 2-way deal, who had played in like I bet less than 10 games for the Nuggets this year.
I can look.
It's just ridiculous, man. It's just all of that. That series
I hit
is
3
nonsense.
threes in the first quarter.
I was
Little tiny Marcus Howard.
He played 37 games and started 1.
We'll
5.5 minutes per game.
We're gonna have Scott Chase on the show tomorrow night. He'll kind of help us do a little Suns Lakers pregame because he and I are 2 Suns fans in the Kansas City metro area.
Big game.
He's in Lawrence. It is a big game, you know.
Game. You don't want to let this go 7.
No, I don't. You're so right. I really don't.
There was a tweet earlier. Anthony Davis thinks he'll be able to play, but he's leaving that up to the Lakers medical staff.
Yeah, I gotta hold him out. Hold him out for game 8. Leave him out of the rest of this series. See what they can do in game 8. But we'll have Scott on tomorrow, and I will ask him about this because we were having a conversation during the game last night about the Nuggets and Blazers as to who we would rather the Suns be playing in the next round.
Nuggets.
Well, I would rather the Nuggets just for the sake of what would happen to this radio show for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that would be a blast. Scott is saying that the Blazers are not really a good basketball team.
I agree with that.
I think I heard today that they have like the 3rd worst defensive rating
I'm looking.
in the history of basketball.
They're also very small.
In the history of the NBA.
Well, they're 29 out of 30 this year.
Yes, the worst of all
Kings, I
time
think.
this year is the Kings.
Yeah.
I think Amin El-Hassan said this on Levitard. The Kings this year have the worst defensive rating in NBA history. Second is that Cavs team from a couple years ago that won like 7 games. And then third is this year's Blazers team. I believe that's what Amin El-Hassan said.
They
today.
are, however, second in offensive rating this year.
Well, and here's the thing. Here was my counter argument.
They can score.
I'm gonna pull this up and just try to get this.
As we saw last night. Like they can score.
I'm gonna pull up this text. I got distracted by seeing an email from Rudy, and then I rememred that Rudy had to start the show by typing out a bunch of things.
Yes.
Let's see here.
But to go off, it is a weird situation. The Nuggets are clearly a better team than the Blazers. I mean, like there's a reason why they have the better record than the Blazers.
Even without Jamal Murray right now.
Yes, without Jamal Murray, I think they went. I think it was 16-7 without Jamal Murray.
I will say Portland missed CJ McCollum for like 30 games this year.
I mean,
that doesn't help defensively, but it helps offensively because he was killing it before he got hurt.
Yeah, the Nuggets are still a better team.
Here was my argument on behalf of wanting to play the Nuggets.
Damian Lillard is like
I texted.
I love Jokic.
Sure.
He does not, and this might be the argument for why centers shouldn't win MVPs, right? It's the same reason why running backs can't win MVPs in football.
Mm-hmm.
There are just things that other positions can do that a particular position can't. I love Jokic. He just, and no center can do what the guards can do, right? Can do what Steph can do what Lillard can do what LeBron can do what any of those guys, the point guard can do.
I told Scott I don't want the Suns to play Lillard. And he said, Josh, the Blazers are bad. The Suns beat them with nothing to play for to end the year, and the Blazers were fighting to make the playoffs. I said, also, horror movies aren't real. I'm still afraid of them and Damian Lillard. What had to be happening to your heart last night, Rudy, I don't think I am physically capable of taking right now.
Yeah, it's, because again, like there is anytime he shoots the ball, it does not matter where. It does. There was
Nothing
a time
matters.
where
Nothing.
he pulled up about 5 feet in front of the half-court line, 17-ish seconds on the shot clock with 3 Nuggets kind of within range of him. Nobody right up on him, but there were like 3 Nuggets kind of in a semicircle around him.
Yeah.
And he just pulls up from 3 and hits it. And you're just like,
Also,
oh, okay, yeah.
Wasn't terrible defense at the end of regulation or the first overtime last night. It was okay defense. And he created 4 feet of space because he's an alien, and then he drained that shot right in your face.
Like Michael Porter Jr., 6'11", with the 7+ foot wingspan. Now I would still rather Aaron Gordon be on him because Michael Porter Jr.
What? Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic are not the same height, actually,
He's 6'10",
right?
I think.
Michael Porter. So here's the thing.
Jokic is listed at 6'11".
If you look at Michael Porter Jr. next to Jokic,
Well, that's the shoes.
Porter Jr. looks taller.
Well, no one's wearing significantly taller shoes than the teammate,
6'10".
right?
Sorry.
Because they officially measured everybody this year, I remember, or last year.
Yeah, because like those measurements are like always. That's why Kevin Durant, who's a 7-footer, is not listed as 7 foot. Again, also I would say if somebody says 6'11" and the outcome is 6'10", I think it's close enough.
I was just shocked by the idea that those dudes can stand back to back and balance a plate on their head.
Yeah, if you look at pictures of them like side by side, and again I've seen Nuggets media talk about this, like when they stand by each other. Like Porter Jr. looks taller than Jokic. Like they think Jokic is given an extra inch, and Porter Jr.'s essentially been taken away an extra inch.
I did not know that. That's crazy. I never thought about that.
Here's the thing: NBA team, it's NBA and college teams. Those height things are they're almost never right.
Yeah.
Like they are very rarely correct.
Because like a year or two ago, they decided they were going to like officially measure everybody
that's
without
Bobley
shoes.
Beard. That's Bobley Beard.
No,
And
I remember
also
them doing that.
no, but those
a lot of
numbers are
people's
never
height
true.
changed.
They're never true. And also the whole this is a different thing where like this is a combine thing where everybody wants to know what the basketball players, their heights are without shoes. You don't play basketball without shoes on.
That's fair.
I don't care how tall somebody is without shoes on.
I mean, there are stories about like player height changes and stuff from doing this in 2019, but I have no idea who is doing. What I'm understanding is that they just decided to start doing the measurements without shoes, which means that any little fudging that they could do if a team is, they could do it continually. But
yeah, the point being, like, I just wouldn't like again. Also, like 6'10", 6'11". There's no real difference there. Point being, like Porter Jr.'s tall, super long arms.
Yeah,
and Dame just gets the shot off as easy as I don't know how tall Dame is. He's not like a short boy, but that's what I was gonna say, like 6'2", 6'3", like around that. He's in like that Steph Curry range. And it's like it doesn't matter that there's somebody who's 7 foot essentially on him with the 7 foot plus wingspan. Like he just gets the shot off so easy.
Listed at 6'2".
He's probably 6'1".
for Lillard,
Yeah.
well,
It's
I don't
impressive.
know how
It's just
tall
wildly
anyone
impressive.
is. That's my new stance. My new official stance
Also,
is I don't know how tall anyone is.
I always remember because then I remember like being close to Frank Mason. NBA short is still like just like average.
I have a
size.
picture of myself standing next to Frank Mason.
Yeah.
We're almost exactly the same height,
Yeah.
I think. I think that's about right.
Which is just like funny because like you always hear about like short NBA players and you just expect them to be really short. And then you see
Well,
you're like,
it's-
oh, you're just an average height person.
And also, if you're not a regular, if you only watch the show or listen to the show,
Yeah.
you don't know that I'm actually 6'6". That doesn't come up that often.
Well, you sit down, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and I
height.
lower the chair, for
The
video
facade.
and
It's
yeah,
the
and
facade.
I don't want to intimidate anybody,
Yeah,
right?
It's understandable.
Like, yeah, I can dunk. What about it?
I'm a solid 5'10".
Rudy is
And a half.
4'7". I'm 6'6". Beards is 5'9"3/4.
My coach in high school used to put me as 6'6" on the program, So
Yeah.
like whenever like we go and play
Intimidated
somewhere,
their
they
team a
thought
little
I was
bit.
6'6".
Yeah.
And for a time, I thought I was 6'6" too because he told me I was 6'6". And I was like, this doesn't feel right, but he says I'm 6'6", so I'm just gonna go with it.
You get one of those medieval torture devices that just
Yes.
stretch you out. What are those? The rack?
Yeah.
You get a, what did you say? Yeah, like that, Beards?
I don't know.
You gross weirdo. Unbelievable. But yeah, you just gotta hop on. You can add a couple inches and you can stretch that spine out a little
Yeah.
bit.
Totally works.
Totally works.
Yeah.
Also, thanks to Caden Gets the Show for resubbing on Twitch. If you want to watch the show, you can do that, twitch.tv/sportsradio810. We've had a very good time with the Twitch chat over the last few months now. It's been a great time. So you can join in there if you want, or also you can watch the show on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel as well. Why don't we take a break? Whenever we come back, I want to get into what's going on with the Boston Celtics right now. I will talk a little bit about my Western Conference favorite, not by any metric other than my own, Phoenix Suns. And eventually we'll talk a little Royals. We'll talk to Sterling Holmes here.
Forget about the Royals.
30 minutes. We'll talk to Lesky in an hour and a half. We'll definitely talk Royals in an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
We'll let Lesky will talk about the Royals in an hour and a half.
I like Lesky.
We might talk about the Royals at some point, but whenever we come back, I'm going to need Beards to explain some things to me, and that's always a recipe for disaster.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Beards, I need you to tell me about what happened with LiAngelo Ball, which I literally did not know was a person.
He's the middle ball.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Beards, I need you to tell me about Danny Ainge, who I forgot existed until he retired or whatever today. I guess he's not really retiring. He's just stepping down from the Celtics.
I think the official word is retired.
He's going to be the next head coach of the Duke Blue Devils, I believe.
That makes sense. You know what? In fact, actually, I'm going to hold my jokes for 5 seconds on this one. I want to get. No, I am, because they will be there after you explain sort of what's happening. And I'll give the brief sort of rundown right now. I think this is genuinely interesting, even if you're not like a massive NBA fan or whatever, because Rudy, will you find out when, or Beards, you might know off the top of your head, when did Brad Stevens arrive in Boston? When did he leave? When did he leave Butler?
14? I don't know. Around that range. I can't remember what year.
13.
I was gonna say I think it might have been the year because it was
First year with Boston was 13.
because 2012 was his last year with Butler, which was because I was in college. I was at Wichita State at that time.
So first year with Boston, it looks like
Yes.
he coached into 2013.
2012,
with
2013
probably
season,
being
the NCAA tournament. Yeah.
So as of 2013, Brad Stevens was coaching Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Not he obviously did an excellent job there, but it wasn't a traditional blue blood program. He was coaching Butler.
Do you know his story before Butler?
No.
He was working on Wall Street.
Weird.
Yeah. Like he
Don't think I knew that.
he wasn't like a basketball like coach coming up. He was he was a business guy coming up and who just liked basketball and was like, I want to get back. He obviously played it, coached it a little bit growing up, but like wanted to get back into basketball.
And so I'm not going to go all the way through the Brad Stevens thing here because it's tipping my hand as to one of the things that I think is interesting about this. But Brad Stevens has been the Celtics coach now for I think 7 full seasons.
Yeah.
And Danny Ainge, president of basketball ops, GM,
Since 2003.
whatever his title was.
Yeah.
Been the head honcho in the front office for almost 20 years in Boston. So he steps down, and Brad Stevens is moving into the front office. It looked like they might also be hiring a GM alongside him. I saw that tweet in passing earlier. But Brad Stevens is going from sideline to the front office at age 44, which is that doesn't happen for young guys very often. If Popovich eventually retires, then takes a front office role with the big office that he doesn't have to be in very often, that would make sense to me. Brad Stevens pretty young. But so he goes to the front office. Danny Ainge, after having a series of kind of rebuilds and some interesting things that have honestly like changed certain things about NBA basketball, he steps down. They're gonna have to hire a new coach. They're probably gonna hire a GM alongside Brad Stevens, I guess. And the Celtics end up being in kind of a weird place right now. So Beard's resident Celtics expert, Boston Celtics fan, explain to me. What, Rudy?
Also,
you're not a Celtics fan.
No,
So
but
your turn to
also,
talk.
I was just going to throw it out there because not only is the Boston Celtics head coaching open, so is the Celtics FC's jobs also open.
I saw Conor
It's
McCourt.
all this is all a big thing, I assume.
I saw Conor McCourt tweet about the upcoming Celtic rebuild, and for a second I was like, "Is
That
he
was the Boston Celtics?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the soccer. It's singular.
I typed in favorite to be Celtics, and it led me to Celtic. Actually, over
plural.
the Celtics.
Mini Celtics.
Yes.
So Beards, where are you at with this? What did you? First of all, what did you think whenever you saw those tweets come down today?
It was very strange. I woke up and all this news had come out. It was like, I think almost by that point, everything had been done. Because, I know at first
What
there
time
was.
did you wake up today? Because this all was happening at
Yeah.
noon, right?
Oh, I think this happened before.
No, that happened before. I got up at
Beers got up at noon. And
No,
it was,
I got up at like
and
9:30 or
and
something.
the thing was done.
I got up at like
I was up
9:30.
earlier today than I usually am, so maybe my clock is off. Sorry, I just did the thing that I hate, which is interrupting partway through your explanation.
Definitely surprising. I know that Danny's talked about the idea of a change is going to come if the team doesn't do that well this year, which they obviously didn't do as well as they would have hoped. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. Stevens has been a really good head coach, and almost anybody that it gets is going to be a downgrade, just based on that alone. He's probably at least top 10. I would probably go a little bit higher than that, but that's also like a little bit of bias there.
Yeah.
No Mike Malone, but
I know that like Jason Kidd and Lloyd Pierce were the two names that I think Chris Haynes tweeted out.
How does that make you feel?
You can go away with the Lloyd Pierce one. I'm just going to remind people that his team got good once he was fired this year from Atlanta.
That would be an extremely weird move.
Kidd, I'm willing to roll the dice on Kidd. I think he's a little shortchanged somewhat. Partially because of the way he left Brooklyn, where he really just played a coup or was trying to play a coup and get Billy King out as GM. And then all of a sudden he's in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And
which is also very weird.
I will say, I think he was big and very instrumental in Giannis's development. Because there was that one year where they were going to make point Giannis a thing. And he played 40% of his minutes at point guard that year. And I think that really helped him to be where he is now, because where he's able to very, semi-confidently handle the ball as he's driving to the lane. It's not my favorite name. There are some other ones that I like more.
Jason Mann. Jason Adult.
What about Jason Child?
No.
Terrible.
Worse.
like Sam Cassell and Chauncey Billups are two names that have kind of come out. Both of them played for the Celtics at some point. Cassell was on that title team in 08, and Billups was there as a rookie.
Nuggets legend.
But I would love Chauncey Billups. I'd love to have a player coach come in.
Interesting.
That surprises me.
Him
a
or,
little bit.
him or Cassell would be great, I think. I know there's a couple assistants that they've talked about. I can't remember exactly both of their names.
Jay Larinaga.
Larinaga is the one that I heard, yeah.
Who's the other guy? I just mentioned his name in the break.
Jerome
I wasn't
Robinson?
listening.
I don't remember.
Mark
Ginla.
He was an Avalanche player, right? Jerome McGinley, Avalanche player. Is that did I get his name right?
Yes.
There we go.
Nailed it.
Kenny Atkinson was
action
another
figure.
name that I saw.
Jerome Allen. That's the Celtics assistant.
Yeah,
coach.
Kenny Atkinson was another name that I saw, which would be kind of funny because he's Brooklyn's old coach before they got Steve Nash.
What about Doc Rivers or Ty Lue?
No on Ty Lue. Doc would be okay.
Can I throw one? So I'm looking at like odds for the next Celtics coach. This is a long shot.
Interesting, yeah.
Plus 4,000. Long, like mind you, they got Jason Kidd at plus 350.
Can I call a timeout? Is this like where on some sites you could bet on who the next pope was going to be, and you could get Bono at like
Probably.
40,000 to 1?
Probably, but this guy is a basketball coach, so like maybe more realistic than Bono.
Can I guess again?
Yeah.
Mike from Duke.
No, but
No?
be good.
Okay.
No. About the same caliber of coach though, like kind of like in
Bill
that area.
Self.
Is it Bill Self?
No, Bill Self's too young.
Calipari.
Is it
older
Coach
guys.
K?
No, not Calipari.
Is it Jim Boeheim?
Nope.
Is it Larry Brown?
Nope. You're
John
thinking
Beilein.
Smaller schools.
John Beeline's a good call.
Did you just see he's the Pistons' new director
Yes.
of player personnel?
What?
Got to worry about those slugs, man.
What?
Yeah, you
He
didn't
got
see that?
hired by
No.
the Pistons
Yeah.
to be
What?
the director of player
Beeline?
personnel.
Yeah.
No,
No,
Beeline.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah,
Wait a second.
You know
what?
the Michigan coach who called his Cavs players a bunch of slugs.
I forgot about that. That's not what he said, but it's pretty close. Sorry.
That's what he wants you to think he said.
That's right. He would much rather have said slugs.
Yeah.
I
You're circling. You guys are so close to
Frank
the name.
Martin.
No, but you Calder. You were so
Bruce
close.
Weber.
Calder.
Yeah, feels like that's probably true.
Jay Wright.
Jay Wright.
He's actually
Jay
on
Wright's-
here at plus 3,000.
Jay Wright's
and
kind of interesting.
It's in that territory.
Anyway, who is it? Because we can keep playing this game for another 30 minutes.
But the payoff is so good.
Then say it.
Rick bleeping Pitino.
Holy smokes!
So no on that one.
I mean, he here's,
so
here's,
Do you know the Rick Pitino story?
here's the thing
of
with
him in Boston.
But here's the thing with Rick Pitino. Whatever he's going to get done, it's going to get done real fast.
He destroyed the Celtics real fast the last time he was there.
Because that's what he does. He does everything real fast.
What is his Boston connection?
He was the head coach there in like the early 2000s. Yeah.
What? Wait,
and
what?
Like late 90s, early 2000s.
For how long?
A couple years. And he basically just destroyed the team. He traded like a bunch of young players for some not good centers and stuff. And SB Nation's video thing they do, Secret Base, they had a thing on that, a video about that, how he just completely destroyed the Celtics in that amount of time.
Wow.
So, yeah,
At least he tried, unlike Danny Ainge.
Oof. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think Danny Ainge was a very good GM. He had some really good moves that he made. He was infamous for wanting to. He was relentless, or no, heartless. Basically, was the way I wanted to put it. Like he said before, if he would have been the GM in the '80s, then he would have traded Bird and McHale when they got near to the end, when like
Right.
Bird's back was and that kind of stuff.
Right.
He traded Pierce and Garnett. Now it was probably time on Garnett.
Yeah.
But like Pierce was the guy.
Yeah.
And had been there forever and got an excellent haul out of it.
Yep.
And they got Tatum and they got Brown out of that.
Paul
And
Pierce plus 1,400, by the way.
that would be, no.
1,400 is not that high. It's high,
You
but
know
it's
who's
not.
lowest on this list at plus 10,000?
Yes, I want to know.
Kendrick Perkins.
Yes.
No, thank you.
Also good.
No, thank
Can
you.
you give me the top 3 favorites right there real quick?
Jason Kidd plus 350, Sam Cassell plus 400, Lloyd Pierce plus 450.
Boy, man,
I
Lloyd Pierce
do
would
not
be
want Lloyd
so
Pierce.
weird.
Chauncey Billups is plus 6, and then Becky Hammonds and I guess Kenny Atkinson
Yeah.
plus 1,000. KG, I don't know if you've heard of him, plus 1,200.
Does KG want to coach? Do we know it all? That'd be kind of
I
interesting.
think he wants to be
He wants
part
to own
of the
a team.
Timberwolves ownership.
Yeah, he definitely wants to own a team.
It would be he would be an interesting coach. I don't think he would be, I don't know.
Jeff,
He would- He could be really good, but he can also flame out.
I wish you guys could see each other. I think it would really help you guys'
sorry.
timing.
Probably.
I
It's just
I
tough.
just laugh because it's like I can only assume this is it's not that they're both plus 1,300. It's just they're a duo. You have to have them together. Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. I just like for Becky Hammond and Kenny Atkinson, they are each at plus 1,000. But I just gotta assume for Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, that's just a package deal. You
love
can't hire
that.
one without the other.
One of my favorite recurring bits on Twitter is Jason Concepcion doing fake dialogue for the two of them in some unprofessional circumstances.
They're good.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what you're gonna have to Google for that, but search on Twitter for network and you'll figure it out. It's very good. So I think whoever they hire next is interesting because NBA coaching hires are always kind of interesting because you can just hire Steve Nash, who stopped playing like 5 years ago.
Who, like 2 years ago, was a color commentator for the Champions League in soccer.
Yeah.
Like he was doing
He also did
soccer
a bunch of
play-by-play.
stuff with the Warriors as well, though. Like,
Yeah. But,
Scouting and stuff.
but he was very fresh out of basketball.
but he was also one of those guys where while he was playing, people were going, "Oh, he's going to be a head coach." Basically, as soon as he walks out the door.
But that just doesn't happen anywhere else quite like that. Like
Sure.
And baseball in a couple of places.
Catchers occasionally.
I watched Craig Counsell play, and now he's a manager. But that still took longer. The NFL has absolutely none of that. Mike Kafka will probably get there, and you'll find guys like Doug Peterson, backups, by the way, also typically backups who will go into coaching, rise up the ranks, that kind of stuff. For the NBA, the better player you were, the better chance you have of being a head coach, it seems. And I just think that's an interesting setup that doesn't really exist in other places. Like, there's a much better chance that Matt Nagy is going to be a head coach than even Alex Smith will be, right? Like, I just think that, and also Alex Smith, unless you go to the Texans, and maybe they're going to hire Josh McCown, but Josh McCown, long-time backup, right? I think it's kind of interesting. For me, maybe you know what, let's talk about Danny Ainge for a second. Because, Beards, you mentioned dude was ready to move on from anybody as soon as he thought it was time
Isaiah
to.
Thomas after Isaiah Thomas was like 5th in MVP voting and had that great season.
Nuggets legend. Never forget.
And like, didn't his sister die, like, right?
He had a lot of stuff
Before
going
or
on in that
something?
playoffs. I think his sister died, and then he had a bunch of like hip surgeries and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But so, all of that, I think it's totally fair to say that Danny Ainge made big moves that typically worked. Shipping off those guys for a ship ton of picks in return is crazy. Like, it's something that we're seeing now. Like, right, the Thunder are trying to get some of that energy for a full rebuild. I do think it's really interesting that even though it ended up helping get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that the Celtics, Danny Ainge had he set up the most intricate domino course you've ever seen, and then it feels like never fully pushed that first domino.
It fell apart when Kyrie Irving left, is basically what happened, because he traded Isaiah Thomas for Kyrie Irving, and we don't really have to get into the Kyrie Irving leaving thing. But whatever.
Please?
Because there was they were using Kyrie Irving as bait for Anthony Davis, and then Kyrie Irving left and Anthony Davis went to LA.
Right.
Anyway. He made a lot of trades.
He had such a super intricate setup for a joke, and the punchline, not that it didn't exist.
It just never got there.
It wasn't as funny as you thought it was going to be whenever you heard the setup.
Yeah.
Which is, again, not the worst job a GM has ever done by any means, but I think it's going to leave behind, I'm going to keep overusing this word because it's not my safe word, it's my safe space word of I can say this and I'm not passing judgment. He's going to leave a very interesting legacy. Interesting is my safe word.
Well, remember too, him building essentially, we look at the Miami Heat, right, as the first big three, but it was really,
No, we don't.
I think
What?
a lot of people
No.
talk about Miami as like the start of the new wave of everybody coming together. So sorry, when I say big three, I mean like the wave of everybody coming together.
The Celtics got the phrase big three going, but the Heat
Celtics
perfected it.
But the Celtics caused that to happen because it's LeBron getting beat by the Celtics every year in the playoffs, causing him to go to the Heat. Your point with
you
the
say
whole
again, my head's gonna explode.
the
It's very interesting.
the legacy in the NBA right now, or his legacy in the NBA going forward, it started with this. Sorry, I'll stop.
No,
talking.
no, no, no. You're
I'm
no,
good.
it's- no, no.
I got it.
You said like again.
I got it all
I
out
said my
there.
head was going to explode
Yeah.
whenever you said like.
I got it all out there.
And next time I say interesting,
got it all out
you
there.
should explode it. Your head should explode on your shoulders.
I think I've only noticed you say it like once or twice, but
I've said it interesting a lot in this segment.
that's probably.
I've gotten
that's probably
self-conscious
true.
about it, so now I'm lashing
just
out at
doesn't.
you
It just doesn't bother me if you
for
say it
saying
multiple
like a
times.
bunch. I'm lashing out at Beards for being a Celtics fan. I kind of want Beards to talk about Kyrie, but I really don't.
Danny Ainge though has a big impact on NBA history for the like. I make fun of him. I make fun of him for all the close trades he almost made,
Right.
which was a good bit,
Yes.
but also wildly successful. And honestly, I think Brad Stevens is making the right move because being a GM in the NBA is a lot. Here's the thing: people don't realize like a lot of times why you would want to go from college to the NBA as like a head coach because you can have more power and make more money. Like you can beat Coach K, you can beat Calipari, you can beat
For
Bill
sure.
Self. But
You
those
beat
guys,
Jay Wright at Villanova. Tons of examples. Yeah.
Gary Parrish has talked about this on his podcast, so I'll mention it, where he was talking to Bill Self, and a young kid came up to him. They were at the Final Four and was like, "Hey, I want to get into coaching. Like, what do I do?" And Bill Self told him, "What do you like most about basketball? Or do you just want to coach? Are you trying to be like kind of more of a public figure? Like, what do you want to do? Because if you just want to coach basketball, either go to high school or the NBA. Because in college, you have to deal with so much other stuff besides actually coaching basketball." And it's like, that's why Brad Stevens left. He just wanted to coach basketball. And now you move into the GM role. It's just, your life just got so much easier. And now also you have like the power.
Well, so that's another element of this. By the way, Beards, I was going to actually ask you on Brad Stevens.
Yes.
This is something that you imagine he wanted to do whenever Ainge was departing? Because you mentioned that there was talk of like if this season didn't go very well, maybe there would be some changes.
I don't think that would ever be Brad Stevens getting fired, though.
Well, so is this Brad Stevens and also because again we mentioned earlier that it's something they might hire a GM in addition to moving Brad Stevens into the front office.
Understandable, helps with some of that work. And
Sure.
And
it's his first time doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Cubs did this when the former Red
David
Sox
Ross.
GM.
No.
The Reds, I can't remember his name, but the Red Sox GM.
Epstein?
He was the president of operations for the
Yeah.
Cubs, but then they went out and hired Jed Hoyer to be the general manager. just
Somebody else did that in
It-
baseball, I
it's,
think.
It's
yeah.
very common. You typically always have a general manager if you have a president of blank operations, whatever the sport may be.
But Beards, is it your assumption that this is what Brad Stevens wanted? I guess is the question that I'm asking. So I immediately
I
assumed
know
that it was,
that there was
but I don't know now.
the quote, I think today or whenever, that he's basically been feeling burnt out from coaching by the bubble, which also kind of makes sense when you look at like the team rate, like offensively and defensively this year, where there wasn't a whole lot of roster change, but they were just not as good. And also some of that was like they had a bunch of COVID stuff, they had some injuries and all that kind of thing, so that impacts it too. But like, yeah, that makes sense.
But I also think that if
I don't think he was forced into it.
yeah,
And I'm sure he agreed to do it, obviously.
right.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be there.
That's true. He could go coach. He could go get another NBA head coaching job.
Or college.
Yeah,
or college.
He's the type of guy. Like, we can certainly argue, like again, like this year, obviously not. I don't think I'm with Beards. I don't think he was anywhere near close to being fired. But if the next 3 years went by, like how this year went, you're on the hot seat, right? But like that guy could go get a job wherever he wanted, essentially, whatever, right? Like if Bill Self left tomorrow and Brad Stevens went to Lawrence, like, hey, I want to be your next head basketball coach. He's the next
They'd
head
say yes.
basketball coach.
Yeah.
If he had went to Duke before, like ahead of time, when Bill, like, hey guys, don't hire John Shire, hire me. They hire Brad Stevens. At least I would assume they would have. Maybe that's different because maybe Coach K had Mike from Duke wanted his guy or whatever. But like he can get a job wherever he wants. But like I think this is that move where it's you now have the power to make the moves that you want to make. Not that he had any issues with Danny Ainge. I'm just sure there are moves that he would have done differently.
Sure.
And I'm sure he was very involved, obviously, with like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to a degree of where you feel like he can identify talent pretty well.
Also worth noting that we mentioned Coach K offhandedly there. You know, best
Mike from
wishes.
Duke, yeah.
Best wishes to one of the members of the Dork Club. He's retiring after this season.
Yes.
So by the way, if you get annoyed by Duke propaganda easily,
Oh, boy.
don't look at
Oh, boy.
ESPN for 8 months.
Yeah.
Just don't even look at your television because it's all Roy Williams could have. I wish Roy Williams would have done this, and just let's just really bathe in it for a while. Let's bask in the glow of a couple of old dudes on their retirement tour. That is going to be insufferable. But also, Brad Stevens wouldn't have been coaching this upcoming year.
Yeah, that's true.
If he was going to be coaching, waiting, whatever. There.
If Duke missed the tournament this year, he has to if they do, he just has to postpone retirement, right? He's
No,
like, hey guys, sorry, but like we didn't make the tournament. I have to go out in the tournament. I'm back.
They've got to go to whatever tournament they get an invite to, and they have to win it.
No, what'll happen is
That's
it'll be
true,
like
true.
a couple years ago when Adam Silver named Dwayne Wade and Dirk honorary All-Stars.
Yeah.
It'll be that. The NCAA commissioner, blankety blank McFace, will just go, oh, hey, look, here's Duke in the play-in game. There you
Yeah.
go, boys.
That feels right.
It does feel pretty right. One other thing that I think is interesting is actually with Brad Stevens.
Like how interesting?
Like interesting. Like pretty. I was gonna throw to break, Beards. I was gonna throw to break, and you want to make those 2 segments? That's fine. I'll do it now. Let's take a break. Nope, we're back, and welcome back to the show. And here's a funny liner. Ha. Spinning toy. I'm afraid to say the funniest part of that intro because out of
Fidget
context.
spinner.
Yeah, that'll
metal
do.
fingering fidget spinner.
Among Us blue. What I'm curious to see how it will play. I'm also trying to say curious less. I've just got a lot. I'm noticing my ticks.
It's
I'm
fine.
trying to.
We've
I'm
all
trying
got
to
our thing, man. You
boil
just,
them
just
down.
don't think about it.
I can't.
Here's your problem. Shut off your brain like I do. The second I start talking, the brain shuts off. That's how I work.
That makes a lot of sense.
It makes life a lot easier that way.
Beards, what's your excuse?
I mean, it's Reddit. It's not his fault.
That's
Reddit's
true.
fault.
Beards gets distracted.
By the way,
Rudy,
you got about a minute here. You want to get your point out?
Yeah, get your point out. What did you find that was like curious enough to make you interested in something?
that was. I don't think Beards has ever spat more venomously at me through 2 panes of glass. Hachi machi, Beards, I'm sorry. You guys are both great. I appreciate you both. I'm sorry if I hurt your
45
feelings.
seconds.
R.I.P. Danny.
45?
Gone but not forgotten.
40 now.
I just have no idea that Brad Stevens is equipped to be an NBA front office guy. Like, I think he's a good head coach. He was a good recruiter and is probably a good manager of people, generally speaking. But he has no NBA front office resume at this point. Now, how you do it? I guess you just build it up by doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to be GM, or president, or basketball ops, or whatever. He's going to go into a pretty high-ranking position, we figure here. I just have no real reason to think that he's going to automatically be great at that. But typically, if you're good at one job, you get the promotion, you get a chance to be good at that job.
For sure.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think, curiously, that's interesting.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Now tell Max and Moffat what you were telling me about the planets.
That my teacher
won't let us say Uranus. You have to say Uranus.
With Joshua Brisco.
So you guys are following her orders?
Yes.
And that's good, because if the teacher told you, I want you to stick
But
with
I'm
Uranus.
not. I'm not going to.
Hey, Sterling, come on. We talked about this last night, and you said you're going to follow what the teacher says, Uranus. You obey the teacher, right?
Yeah.
You said you weren't, Sterling.
But I am.
Oh, okay.
No, he's going to. He knows what's good for him.
Yeah, I know it's good.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right.
Beards, you bleeped it up. You made
I
this
love
liner
it.
today.
Yep.
Play the
Fourth
end of
habit.
it.
Fourth habit.
Play the end of it.
Hang on.
You played yourself.
I have heard this. It's so good.
I know it's good.
On Sports Radio
so good.
810 WHB.
All right.
What would you prefer to say?
Uranus.
That was all. I just wanted to hear
I
a very
fourth
young.
habit.
I
Fourth
wanted to
habit.
hear a very, very young Sterling Holmes on the radio
Hang
say
on.
Uranus. That's all
He's
I wanted.
Still, like people, sometimes the way they talk, the cadence of their voice will change over the time. If you just 10 years from now, you give me that audio, and I'll just know it's Sterling by the way he talks.
Sterling Holmes joins us now. He's on Twitter at HomestretchKC. You can hear him on Darren and Sterling over on ESPN Kansas City. Weekdays at 3, 1510 AM, 94.5 FM. The Arrowhead Addict podcast on Arrowhead Addict. Inside the Royals on SI.com. He's everywhere except for in his teacher's good graces. Hello, Sterling.
Uranus.
Yes! All right.
Uranus.
Thanks for joining us, Sterling.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
We'll talk to you later.
And just like that,
And scene.
I was better at radio when I was like 7 than I am now. It's actually impressive how my digression has gone.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. You've got pretty good radio instincts for a child in that clip. And there's, I would say that you've carried over a decent amount of it, but also certainly you've degraded over time.
Yeah. My peak was when I had Sterling's moments with Max Floyd, who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now I'm just like, all right, let's just talk gibberish for an hour.
Yeah.
That's what I do with you. So pretty good.
Yeah, you went from Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to
Almost entirely Sports Hall of Fame.
well,
You'll get there eventually.
I'd like to
I
believe.
think you're a lock for it.
You went from that to us. I mean, literally just making jokes about you, a younger version of you saying Uranus.
Yeah.
So like that's, I mean,
Uranus.
it's relatively self-explanatory. Oh my goodness. Hey, we've been talking for the majority of the show this far about various NBA storylines. You big Sixers guy. You worked for the Sixers for a little bit, which I forget about.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
How long
Yeah.
were you there for?
About 2 years.
That's a couple cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And the storylines from last night were that Damian Lillard is a demigod, except we're talking about him in a losing effort. My Phoenix Suns are an unstoppable juggernaut. And then also we were just talking about Brad Stevens for the last little bit and Danny Ainge and everything. What of yesterday and today's NBA storylines most titillated you?
One, Dame Lillard may have had one of the greatest playoff performances ever in a loss. He has no one to work with, apparently. I mean, the refs were on his side, but honestly, I'm like, if the refs are going to screw up, at least they made it a great game and Denver still won. So all in all, it worked out in the end for everyone. As far as Boston goes, I think it's crazy that Danny Ainge kind of started this whole Boston thing by trading away and fleecing the Nets, and then the Nets come up like a phoenix from the ashes to just throw at him, and just all of a sudden Danny Ainge is now out. Brad Stevens, I think, was a really good head coach. It's not his fault that Kemba Walker looks 47, so I don't blame that completely on him. The Suns look really good. The Lakers don't. Without Anthony Davis, that's a bad team. You know, LeBron James is averaging, I think, like 22 points a game, which does not seem very LeBron James. You know, Anthony Davis is paper, man. I mean, he's paper. Like, I feel bad. He's such a great talent, but he's paper. As far as the Sixers go, Joel Embiid, who would have thought that he is somehow healthier than Anthony Davis? Oh, wait, he has a meniscus tear.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem too serious. They have him listed as like day-to-day, which I don't know how you're day-to-day with a meniscus tear. That seems like, hey, I may miss a little bit here, but apparently it's very, very minor. He's missing tonight's game, obviously, but they say he could be back for next series. Brisco, I don't understand the Phoenix Suns, man. Like, on paper, they look very average. Like, they look very above average. And somehow Chris Paul gets there, and they turn into, like you said, a juggernaut. I am thoroughly befuddled.
Point God.
The regular season was that everybody else except for Phoenix and the Jazz got hurt. Like that's why they ended up with a 2 seed.
Jamal Murray, man.
Sorry, Rudy.
R.I.P.
But they have, I would say an MVP candidate and also Chris Paul. I think that's important to mention. Also,
and Devin Booker.
And Devin Booker. Yeah. DeAndre Ayton has been ridiculous these entire playoffs. I am not a DeAndre Ayton fanboy by any means. I've been frustrated by him for reasons that aren't his fault and by reasons that are his fault for the last couple of years. Partially because of him, mostly because of Luka. A little bit because of Trae Young, like he's just having an incredible playoff. Mm-hmm. But Ayton's been incredible. Having Chris Paul there to use all of those weapons incredibly well has been a blast. You get a great stretch of the regular season from Mikal Bridges, who hasn't been that good in the playoffs, but Cameron Payne has been. It's just they're just a team that I think has a couple of guys that still have that have superstar stuff in bursts, even as Booker hasn't been perfect by any means, and Paul's been hurt. And Ayton, honestly, and if they're all firing and they're all hitting the Nas button on their dashboard, they can actually pull it off.
Yeah, it's just such a fascinating thing because we're always told you have to have 2 at a minimum superstars,
and the Suns have 3,
and a lot of times 3. And Devin Booker's great. He's an all-star. I wouldn't say he's a superstar yet. Chris Paul was a superstar, but he's definitely not a superstar currently. They're getting it done with everyone knowing their role and doing their role well. The Utah Jazz, same thing. Donovan Mitchell, cusp of superstar, but then a whole bunch of fantastic role players around him. And they would look like the 2 best teams. Like the Clippers have Kawhi and Paul George. They may get bounced by Luka Doncic and a bunch of, I don't know, whoever's there. You have, the Lakers. AD can't stay healthy, and LeBron doesn't look like himself. I think it is Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns that have the easiest route now. If you go to the East, Giannis and Chris Middleton look just absolutely outstanding. They look extremely good. They are very scary. But now they have to go through the 3-headed monster of Kyrie, who apparently hates Boston, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. The Sixers have the easiest route if they can just squeeze by and get past Washington and hopefully Embiid comes back. But this has been one of the best, most evenly matched playoffs in recent memory.
Yeah, and I think as part of that is because of the injuries and the stars that have gotten hurt also throughout the regular season, where you're finding it to be a war of attrition. Every team is top heavy to some extent, right? Like there's no perfectly average at all 5 starting positions and all the way down the bench anywhere. But being healthy is a huge asset, and it's ended up with some real chaos out of all of this, and it's been for me, it's been very fun. Could I interest you in talking about a sport with a smaller ball?
Wiffle ball?
Would you like to talk about what's your favorite wiffle ball memory?
Oh, dude, last summer, yeah, I did. Not even kidding. You thought this was a joke. I'm serious. We couldn't.
No, I never thought that there wasn't going to be an answer to that question. For some reason in my heart, I knew there was going to be an answer.
I just thought it'd be when he was a kid.
Yeah,
not last summer.
That's a good point.
Well, obviously, but with COVID, no one knew what was going on, and we're like, we don't want to play inside anywhere. So we got some guys, went to my parents' old neighborhood. My friend's house, it burnt down, so now it's just a lot. And we
Sorry, so I blacked out for a second. You and your friends went and burnt down an old house, and you had a super spreader event in the heat of the pandemic?
It was lit, fam.
Yeah, the house was, it sounds like. And also, you committed arson.
I mean, yeah, but it was for a good cause, for a good wiffle ball game.
What was it that made this game so magical?
I was hitting bombs. It was pretty sweet. I don't know. Brisco, why? I don't know much about wiffle ball, dude. Let's talk baseball.
Hey, Sterling, come on.
Sorry, Sterling. That was 45 seconds of Beards and I trying to telepathically communicate that I wanted that to play. because that's
that
in
was
the
great.
that's in the holster now. That one we never know when that one may. Whenever we can bring your mom on to scold you, that's something that we just now have in our arsenal.
Just like we committed arson, yeah.
Yeah,
So
our arson bowl. Yeah. Let's talk about the Royals a little bit because we've gotten to a point here now where we're an hour and change into the show. We'll talk Royals probably mostly from this point out. But they're back over 500 again, and the offense looked great yesterday, gave Brady Singer some space to work with, and it almost still broke relatively bad. But again, the offense looked fantastic even without Jorge Soler, Alberto Mondesi, and some questionable contributions elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, the Pirates are 2 scoops of ass, so that definitely helps. Brady Singer, he needs to get that third
Hey,
pitch.
Sterling, come on.
Brady Singer needs to get that third pitch. He needs to get that changeup rocking because he's starting to get, I think, figured out with that 2 picks Mitch of the sinker slider.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gets that third pitch, I think that'll be the big equalizer for him. It's just a rough patch. I mean, we got to remember he is really young.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are upset, it's like, okay, you can watch Brady Singer struggle a little bit, or you can watch well, in the past, like even Irvin Santana is still on this team. You want to see however old Irvin Santana is take starts away from Brady Singer? I mean, I think you're going to get a pretty equal outcome.
He's 38.
38. And Singer has a much higher ceiling. Like, I'm okay. For everyone who thinks that the Royals are for some reason going to win the World Series this year, I don't know where that notion came from. This is still like the final year of a, however long it has been, rebuild. Maybe they compete next year. We're not supposed to. The Royals aren't supposed to all of a sudden make some deep run in the playoffs. We got to get Brady Singer, Chris Bubich, eventually Daniel Lynch and Jackson Kowar is carrying up the minors right now, some actual meaningful playing time. There will be struggles. They'll take their lumps, but eventually they'll come out on the other side stronger.
That's very optimistic and very sort of Spartan of you. They're gonna go through the fire and flames. They're gonna come out stronger. What part? I mean, is that specifically looking at the pitching staff for the most part? Like, because that is the thing that's ultimately going to determine how far they end up being able to evolve in the years to come, right?
Yeah, I mean, we always say starting pitching is the currency of Major League Baseball. But I do want to put and make a notice here. They overhauled their minor league system as far as batting and what they do. And we didn't get a chance to get a good look because last year they were at the alternative site.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this year we're seeing this. And MJ Melendez, Nick Prado has been like the best player in the minors. So if this is what the overhaul was, well, maybe we start seeing some of these guys reach their potential, and maybe we do see Nick Prado as the first baseman of the future, and we don't see Ryan O'Hearn bat $150 going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Kyle Isabel does become your center fielder of the future and not just a fourth outfielder. So I am extremely interested to see how the overhaul goes moving forward. But yeah, I think the starting pitching, we all know that's where they're gonna rely on, and they have so many guys. Alec Marsh, Jonathan Bolin, who was pitching great before he had to get Tommy John surgery. Asa Lacy. Like, they have like 8 guys you can just look at and say, these are major league pitchers. And just to me, that's extremely promising. It reminds me of the Cleveland Indians, for example.
Totally different, but where are you at on Alberto Mondesi right now? Because he obviously missed the entire start of the season, came back for 45 minutes, looked great for 45 minutes, and then got a little tweak and then stepped out again. No IL news or anything at this point, obviously, but what's your level of concern on Mondesi right now?
It looks like me playing softball, always getting minor injuries. But, dude, he's amazing. Like, I don't get the people who want to give up on him. He's not going to bring me anything back in return. Do you want to see Nicky Lopez play shortstop and bat 220? Sure, he gets injured. I get that. But that week was a massive spark plug. Even if he plays 60 games a year, those 60 games are phenomenal. They're entertaining. They add something to the lineup. I don't understand all the people who are just furious and want him off the team. I just truly don't understand that. I understand injuries are frustrating. I understand he's been extremely inconsistent, but giving up on a guy who obviously has the highest ceiling of any position player, to me, outside of Bobby Witt Jr., is just completely asinine.
The Bobby Witt Jr. thing, I think, is an important note to make because I wonder how it makes the Royals less reliant on Mondesi, right?
Sure.
Now, ultimately, you have to make your decisions about what you're going to pay Mondesi and what you feel like you can rely on him for. Do you get Sammy Watkins vibes a little bit? Because I think Alec Lewis mentioned Sammy Watkins in connection with Mondesi, and I'm feeling some similar things. It's an earlier career Sammy Watkins thing, not a 2020 Sammy Watkins thing, but where you think, man, if this dude could stay healthy, ... But also there is a cost that comes to that. The uncertainty is not a good thing for a baseball team.
No, 100%. That's a very good comp. The thing with Mondesi is he's not going to have some crazy open market bidding war for him. At least I wouldn't imagine so. You know, why not keep bringing him back until he figures it out? He could be 37, then finally say, all right, let's cut the cord. But, I mean, he's what, 25? He's 25.
He seems 35 just because we've talked about it. We've talked about him so much.
But he does have the highest potential of anyone on the position players outside of Bobby Witt Jr. And sure, if Bobby Witt Jr. all of a sudden just forces his way up, maybe Mondesi does become a second baseman or a third baseman. But Mondesi is so good at shortstop. If he can just stay healthy, big caveat, obviously, but if he can just stay healthy and never completely figures it out with the bat with a consistency standpoint, these streaks are enough to make him worthwhile. Plus, the defense and speed automatically make him at least a average shortstop.
Yeah.
Just to me, I don't understand the hate and frustration with the outside of injuries. I don't get the anger towards him.
Yeah, I feel that way about the people that are that sort of heated about the inconsistency for the most part, because baseball is typically a pretty inconsistent sport. You might have 5 players who are consistently great at all times, and like you said, ceiling wise, maybe Mondesi has that, but the issue is just the availability. It is hard to say. I don't think it's difficult to really like a player that's only playing 60 or 80 or even 100 games a year, but it is difficult to say we're going to sort of hitch this franchise's wagon to him. So I'm definitely falling in, I don't know if it's in the middle, but it's certainly not at either, yes, he should be their only thought at shortstop forever, or they should cut him, because I think both of those end up being, I think you lose the forest there, if I can mix metaphors.
No, I completely get that, but just really quickly, guys have been injured a lot early in the career and then will bounce back. One, not position player, but Steven Strasburg for the Nationals was perpetually injured early on in his career until he figured it out. Yeah. I'm not ready to say Mondesi is never going to be healthy. I'm not ready to say he's always going to be injured. Sometimes people grow into their bodies late, and if that means he's a steal a few less bags, so be it. But I'm just not ready yet to pull the plug on the Mondesi project.
Yeah, I definitely would say pulling the plug right now would be doing that for no particular reason. I'm pulling up a Spot Track page, although internet is not loving that idea right now.
Terrible internet connection. It's always exciting, right?
Yeah, it really leaves you in suspense because it keeps me from sounding really smart and just having this ready to go.
I assume what you're looking for, he's a free agent in 2024.
That is what I was looking for. So you got 2 more years of arbitration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any incentive to do anything definitive before that point? Like, if the hope of Mondesi holds Bobby Witt in the minors for longer than he should be, that would be a misstep in my opinion. But also, that's not really on Mondesi. Because like you said, between Mondesi and Bobby Witt, you're going to have a really good shortstop. Let's say they're both playing. You're going to have a really good shortstop and a really good third or second baseman. These are what we call good problems.
Yeah, I truly believe that if Mondesi stays healthy, it's Bobby Witt Jr. who would probably move to either second or third. Realistically, third base. There's no one at third base. Like, it's Kelvin Gutierrez.
They just gave Dozier. They just gave Dozier a decent chunk of change.
Yeah, dude. No, bad. Realistically, Dozier's a poor defensive player to begin with. I get the positional versatility. That's all fine and dandy, but you can't really play either. Most likely, Dozier, if he hits, will move to DH because I don't think Soler will be coming back. So that could have been
You
the
can
game
throw
plan
you can
all
throw
along.
Dozier in right field. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Sure.
Partially because I watched Jorge Soler play right field a decent amount this year, so I know that it could be worse.
And who knows? Maybe once Carlos Santana retires, Dozier plays first base, unless Nick Prado again starts tearing it up. I just think Bobby Witt Jr. Makes a lot of sense at third base if Mondesi can stay healthy.
And that's I do wonder when that question eventually has you moving on, Sammy Watkins style, but I think that's at the end of his contract. You know, I think that's...
You got like 3 more years before. You have like 7 more years before I say, all right, time to give up on Mondesi, guys. Like, I am so big on him. Maybe I was the wrong guy to bring on.
No, I don't. I'm happy. I'm not here to either bury or exalt Adalberto Mondesi. I just wanted to talk about him a little bit. We'll talk about him with Lesky in 30 minutes, and we'll see. Maybe Lesky will say that you're a big dumb idiot. I don't know. I would be great radio.
Let's say that he could agree with me and still call me that, and I still would have no qualms with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lesky's among the people that I feel like could just say that one of us is an idiot. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. Thanks for being on, Lesky. We're not talking to Dave Lesky, though. We're talking to Sterling Holmes right now. You can follow him on Twitter at HomestretchKC. Check out Darren and Sterling on weekdays over on ESPN Kansas City. All sorts of stuff. Follow him on Twitter at HomestretchKC. Outside of all of that, you said that you're kind of tamping down expectations, and that you don't have any delusions of World Series achievement right now. What are you watching for, if not for the rest of the season, but for the next couple of weeks? Like when you say, oh, you know what? Here's what I would love to see non-Mondesi division. Here's what I'm looking for in hopes of something positive happening that we haven't yet touched on.
As far as at the major league level, because I want to stay here, it's going to be the starters who are currently here, how they improve. I want to see Stallmont try and rack up the Ks per 9. I know everyone's enamored with Josh Stallmont, but for someone who throws so hard, who also has such a great hook, you got to start striking out more per nine if you want to be an elite back-end closer. Scott Barlow's been absolutely outstanding. I think he fits in moving forward. But the guy who I said when the trade went down got me stoked running around my house, Andrew Benintendi. He has been.
I'm sorry.
Like,
you're on one of your real Jim Rome rolls. I hate to cut you off because I feel like you were just speeding up. I really do feel bad for doing this. But you were running around your house whenever they traded for Andrew Benintendi?
Hell yeah, dude. Are you out of your damn mind? Yes, I was. I thought, did Dave Moore, was it bring your kid to work day and the 7-year-old answered the phones for the Red Sox? Because I was like, what the hell are they doing? A top overall prospect just a few years ago who has shown success in the majors gets traded for Franchi Cordero, who, by the way, is now in the minors. Khalil Lee, who's batting .059. That's real good.
Yeah, it's not great.
Kyle Isabel made him expendable in my mind, Khalil Lee. I wish him all the success in the world, but you have a potential cornerstone, and you got him for that? Of course you make that trade. He's shown success in the majors. He's told you he was trying to work in a swing and trying to hit more home runs. He found out that's not working. Let me try and revert back. He went through his growing pains. He took his lumps. Look what he's doing now. It's amazing. I could not believe when that trade went down, the Red Sox were so short-sighted when just 2 years ago they said, he's our cornerstone. He's our building block, him and Rafael Devers. And just to me, I could not believe that. So, yes, I did run around my house screaming. It was outstanding.
So you had it being take your kid to work day in Boston. And Dayton Moore picks up the phone. So, I'm going to call about Andrew Benintendi. Ring, ring. Hey, guys, it's Dayton Moore, the Kansas City Royals. I'm interested in what you guys might want to do with Andrew Benintendi.
Uranus.
That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but that you do sound like a child. Anyway, will you trade me Andrew Benintendi for a couple of guys that aren't going to play very well for you?
Uranus.
All right, I'm going to take that as a yes. Like, that's how you have that going.
That is literally how I have that going down. Just to put this into perspective, basically the trade was Tim Hill and Khalil Lee for Andrew Benintendi. You traded a fourth outfielder, a guy with maybe has potential in Khalil Lee, and a loogie for Andrew Benintendi. That's a just fleece job by Dayton Moore.
It was a good trade. I just don't know the last time that I was so excited by anything that I ran around my house screaming.
grow up. Maybe have some fun, Brisco. Let yourself loose, okay?
I just don't know the last time I've run around the house. I just don't. I'm just trying to think of when that would have been for anything. Running to the house.
When you do when you do the ride the bull dance move, like Happy Gilmore does. That was about it.
I can just. What bums me out is how vividly I can see you doing this. I can see it in 4K in my mind's eye. You doing a ride the bull sort of dance after reading a tweet after Jeff Passan tweeted that the Royals have traded for Andrew Benintendi, and it's disconcerting, is what I'll say.
But it's working out pretty good, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, I guess that. Will you do a ride the bull dance whenever Mondesi's back in the lineup next, and see if we can give him some of that good juju also?
100%, because it also means he's back in my fantasy baseball lineup.
There it is. There it all comes together. It's all about Did you draft before his injury?
No, pal.
Okay.
I picked him up on the old waiver wire.
Wow.
I played with a whole bunch of Cardinals guys. I got Trey Turner at shortstop. Mondesi's just my break in case of emergency, and you need to all of a sudden just get some steals.
Try not to say the word Mondesi and break in the same sentence if you can help it. I get nervous.
Yeah, that's fair.
What have you done non-sports wise? What have you watched or read or done that you thought was interesting? You, Sterling Holmes, man of culture.
I just mowed. No, I'm reading a good book by Dennis Lehan. It's called Mystic River. He also wrote Shutter Island.
Oh.
So yeah. The book was just as good as the movie. That's one of my favorite movies. I'm not a movie guy. Like I just can't get into movies. I'm more of a book fella myself. But hell of a book, hell of a movie, and Mystic River, fantastic book by him as well.
So I was having a conversation literally earlier today about how I wish I would just read more. But I think that there's something to just like me having to pick up something that's 400 pages long and just be like, there's just no chance that I'm going to get this done before I'm 60. But I will watch a movie whenever. I will watch a TV show at any point. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, I can't get into movies. That's a very strange sentence.
Yeah, well, it's who I am. It's I don't know. I'm not a movie guy. I can't sit and just watch a movie. I don't know.
But you can do you sit and read in like silence? You got a record playing in the background? You got an AirPod in? What are you doing?
Sometimes I watch or read while I either listen to the Royal game on the radio, or I will watch the game in the background and read in the background, and I read before bed. Like I don't do. We turned the TV off before bed. Like I unplug the Apple TV. Yeah, while I drink my hot tea.
Yeah, you are drinking hot tea. You're in a robe, listening to baseball on the radio while you read a book, and you're in bed by 7:45.
Do you also have a little tin of butterscotch candies next to you?
What about those little strawberry ones?
I have a question.
Altoids.
I have a question about social security.
Hold on, Rudy, really quick. Hold on. Sterling, do you have any of those candies?
I do have some butterscotch ones.
Unbelievable!
the Werther's originals, dude.
Go ahead, Rudy.
I'm good.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I needed to know the answer to the butterscotch. Social security question, you said?
No, yeah, it's fine. The butterscotch though was funnier.
We can double down on it. I have a whole other bit about him being old. I'm ready to triple down on this.
I have throw pillows.
That's fine. You're just a man of culture.
I don't understand them, but everybody's got them.
You don't throw them. What are they there for then?
Well, you do throw them off whenever you're like, if either company's
you throw
over
them
or
off
you're about
so that
to
you
go
can
to
sit
bed.
down.
They don't make sense, but everybody's got them. I'm not gonna hate on them.
What time do you usually take your Metamucil? I'm just curious, like for the sake of everyone listening, setting their kind of timer the same way.
Very fun fact. I do need to take my blood pressure or some medication I'm on. It's a statin, one of those things to do. And I have it because I kept forgetting if I took my medicine or not. So I bought that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, you did, Sterling. Yes, you absolutely did. Why wouldn't you? Of course you did.
Yeah.
That was impressive. That and the fact that I now sigh every time I stand up and go, ugh. That and it's we could use some rain. Those phrases I literally think I'm now 74.
Hey, Sterling, come on.
Can you try to feel right now in your bones? When is it going to rain next? Is there a storm coming?
Probably, I would say on maybe Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, dude. Wow. Every time tell everyone you're slightly older than me, right?
I'm 27. Just turned 27.
When was your birthday?
April 25th.
Yeah, it wasn't just 20. So
Well, okay, pal. Time moves slow when you're old.
You're 27, and you have the behavioral patterns of a 72-year-old.
My hip pops every time I walk.
How did this happen to you?
I don't know, man. I stopped playing basketball. COVID happened. I took a year off of softball, and when you're not playing sports, you just grow. You become old.
Wow, maybe this is also why you're so lenient with Mondesi's injuries, is because you wake up every morning and your back creaks. Not even pop,
I
it just
understand.
creaks.
Yeah, I understand. I'm like, like baseball injuries when they have like these minor things. Like, I understand how that happened. I get hurt moving luggage too.
Thank you, Sterling. We'll talk again soon.
See you guys.
Hopefully, I just hope we still got plenty of gas in the tank for old Uncle Stu.
Never old. No, old age will
By the way,
catch you fast.
I wasn't able to get to it fast enough, but there is at the very end of the clip that we played in the liner.
Yeah.
There's 5-year-old Sterling saying,
Bye.
and I was gonna get to that, but I didn't get there fast enough.
Well, we can do it again. You'd hit that's Sterling Holmes. You follow me on Twitter at HomestretchKC. There it is. That's the end of the segment.
Bye.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's former Jayhawk Greg Gurley. Kansas.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
If you go to a Cracker Barrel, you got to sit outside for a little bit, play a game of checkers. Sit on a rocking
Not
chair.
chess.
Oh,
Too classy of a
are
game.
you kidding me?
Checkers.
Checkers. You can't listen. If you walk into Cracker Barrel and you ask where the chess is, they will throw you out like the Yankee you are.
And they should.
With Joshua Brisco.
That was the right use of the word Yankee there, right?
I think so.
I think I got it. I'm not quite as Southern as my newfound love for Cracker Barrel would indicate.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I could crush a big, nasty plate of breakfast food right now. And I ate right before, like 2 or 3 hours before the show today. But if somebody brought biscuits and gravy and just dropped them off in a tin at the front door, I would eat them with my hands.
I mean, nobody's ever going to say no. Well, I take back everything I said when I was going to say nobody would ever say no to breakfast food. But in general, anytime you say nobody would say no to insert food name, I then remember, well, Beard's mine.
So I don't want to do this bit for the 1,000th time, but I do always want to do this bit because it's always there's always something new.
It's true.
Beards, would you say that breakfast food, where are you, just specifically of the breakfast food division, of you being a picky little snob, because I can't say the word I wanted to say there.
I like it. I'm just not usually awake for it.
I mean, that checks out.
Yeah, fair enough. So, it like various forms of eggs.
Sure.
All forms of eggs?
Not really.
But so like what?
Soft yolk.
Don't think I've had it.
Sunny side.
You've never had an egg with a soft yolk? Like a running yolk?
I don't think so. I'm mostly just scrambled.
Not even by accident?
No.
I mean, basically, you just only had scrambled.
Right.
So you like
yeah.
scrambled eggs?
Yes.
But not necessarily other...
Haven't had any of those.
Haven't had, and I believe it.
Yeah. It is wild, Beards. I know this segment quickly devolves into us bullying you for being picky. And I'm at least self-aware enough to know that is sometimes what happens. But, like, the idea that you've just never...
Never
like,
tried.
I've gotten, a different type of egg preparation than I ordered before, and I'll just like eat it. I'll tell you, you know one thing I'm picky about that I'll be a picky little snob about. Here's what I don't have any time for in my life: a sunny side up egg or whatever, an egg with a runny yolk, which I love a runny yolk. But if there is any uncooked little white I guess just egg white that's on there, I don't want it. I will eat around it. I will see it, and it will gross me out. It reminds me of boogers, and I don't want to eat boogers. That's on my picky eater list is boogers, and I will not. So as long as all the egg white is cooked, I like pretty much most egg type things.
But you've tried them.
Oh yeah. No, my favorite way to eat an egg is like a fried egg or I've over easy, I guess, sunny side up, but maybe put a little lid over it. So
Over easy is definitely my way.
You know what? It's honestly I can't remember what's what. I'll be able to define that momentarily.
Over easy is essentially you cook it. You put it on there, let it cook, then you flip it. And it cooks the other side.
Yeah, I like what I like to do is cook over easy, cook it over easy, leave it on one side for 90% of the cooking process, then flip it over for just a second, just enough to cook the little egg white little booger kind of junk.
Yeah.
And then get it off of there.
Totally.
That's what I prefer. I still don't know how to successfully really order that. Scrambled eggs are also good.
Yeah.
Totally go scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
But so this is the thing, Beards. You can get scrambled eggs. Mm-hmm. You probably like most breakfast meat, right? Did we talk about bacon? Do you like bacon?
Yes.
Okay. Was it Mick that didn't like bacon?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
Mick
you're
didn't
right.
like bacon.
Mick doesn't like bacon.
Breakfast meats are all good.
Yeah.
Sausage links. Stop me if I say something untrue. Sausage links, sausage patties, breakfast ham, the bacon of various sorts. Mm-hmm. I like all of it. Mm-hmm. think it's all pretty safe. Where do you stand on biscuits and gravy, Beards? I can see this being not your favorite texture.
I like biscuits. I don't care for gravy.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I guess I knew you liked biscuits.
Yeah,
You'd be over that.
I assume no, like, potatoes of any, like, no, no
so
hash browns or
home fries. Where you at on those?
Eh.
They're fried potatoes, Beards.
Woo!
They're fried potatoes.
That's okay.
That's not in your wheelhouse?
Not really.
All right. Well,
no, some good breakfast foods, Beards. You put the gravy over the hash browns. Oh boy.
are you okay over there?
No, I'm good.
Beards is blowing away in
I'm
the
fine.
control room.
No, nothing's wrong. Hey, Bears! Bears! Excellent. Much better. So I think we could probably add, a place that's got, what about like a breakfast sandwich, generally speaking? You get your all-day breakfast sandwiches at a Sonic, at a McDonald's in the morning, something like that.
If I do breakfast, it's like pancakes, waffles, that kind of thing.
All right. What I'm thinking is that
If I'm having breakfast, then I'm having breakfast, basically.
oh, so you're not out here eating breakfast at 11 a.m. Bleep that. It's fried chicken time.
You're not yet. So like you're like
Right, it's sandwich time. It's fried chicken time. It's
well, no,
it's
I mean,
Lunchy
like,
Boys.
if we go to or IHOP or whatever at like lunch or dinner, that's fine. Then I'll have it there. But I just mean like
Okay.
if I'm having breakfast in the morning,
Yeah.
then I'm going to have like actual
Like a
breakfast
proper
stuff.
English breakfast with baked beans and all.
Like-
Like you're really
Not-
putting your back
not
into it.
right,
You're
but-
saying bleep a sausage biscuit, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I think we have to diverge, maybe most harshly.
Yeah.
Because if I'm ever just a little sad, I'll go get a breakfast sandwich or breakfast burrito at the Sonic across the street.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to be sad afterwards, but I'm going to have a little dopamine hit
Yep.
from those little tater tots and a good little breakfast burrito or breakfast sandwich.
Yeah.
That's at Sonic. That's like a fast food breakfast place.
Yeah.
God forbid I get a chance to make it myself or go somewhere a little bougier. Boy, I love breakfast food.
Same. It's good stuff.
I'm afraid to say this too confidently, but I think if I only got because it depends on how you're going to define the genre, but I think if I only was allowed to ever again eat a genre of food,
Breakfast all the way.
I just really depend, because if you're going to go by like nationality, right, you might be able to shoehorn some. I could go
Sure.
Mexican and then maybe get a little what's the Mexican egg dish? It's just the Spanish word for egg.
Horchata?
Nope, that's a drink with cinnamon. That's which, by the way, is pretty good.
what is
Huevos
it?
rancheros.
Yes, thank you,
Huevos,
Bears.
yeah.
I might be able to get a
Huevos.
little. Are breakfast tacos Mexican enough? Because if I can do that, then I'll take the Mexican lane, I think. But also, then fried chicken goes away. But I don't think I could eat that literally every day, all the time.
think
Although I
I'd go-
did have it for lunch today.
I think I'd go breakfast food, probably. Just like your traditional American breakfast food.
It just would be living without breakfast food. Like, what's the point? Beards, what is the point of your existence? You're not eating enough breakfast food.
I would have been pancakes and waffles and bacon.
Oh, I love waffles. Anyway, I got a tweet when we were talking to Sterling from Angry Pens Gnome on Twitter. Their avatar is a gnome with angry eyes and a Pittsburgh Penguins logo on the hat.
Yeah.
Lives up to their avatar and name connection. And they're talking about Mondesi and said, off the team, give me a break. It isn't love or hate. It's whether or not he's doing the work to prevent soft tissue injuries. I think the answer is no. That's a fair critique. It's a totally fair question to be asking. I'm making note of the extremes because that exists. Like there is a very wide array of Adalberto Mondesi opinions with a wide array of passions behind them and all of that. Like, and I think that there's a decent amount of argumentation that can be formed around that. It's sort of why it's why I like Alex Sammy Watkins comparison. I think I'm stealing that from Alec, because for Sammy Watkins there was never a question about talent or even production. Really, there were times whenever his production would be tied to his availability, though, and then that would become a problem. And I don't begrudge the Chiefs in any way for signing Sammy Watkins the first time. They restructured his deal for last year, and you kind of go, all right, let's give it one more go. And then he cannot stay healthy last year. And you eventually go, all right, we're going to have to do something different. I just don't think that we're not at that tipping point with Mondesi right now. I think to put yourself at the Mondesi tipping point at this point is just not very helpful. That's sort of where I end up. Where you can say, the other thing about it is with Bobby Witt Jr. Like, if Mondesi is not going to be, and let's take through his next 2 years of arbitration, okay? And maybe it's even you want to decide this throughout next year. If you want to decide it by this offseason, you can. I just think you're rushing for no reason.
Yeah.
Because you have easy, cheap control of Mondesi and easy, cheap control of Bobby Witt. If Mondesi cannot be that guy 120 games out of the year-ish,
If he can't be that guy, which by the way, he's like as of right now would have a decent chance of getting to maybe 100 this year if he comes back soon and stays healthy. Huge maybe, huge if. But if you get to that point where you go, yeah, I just don't really think that Mondesi's ever going to be that guy. Maybe he is sort of just snake bit a little bit, and it's always, for whatever reason, it's always going to be a challenge. Then yeah, of course. Then you say, well, you have something else. The good news, though, for the Royals is that they have something else at shortstop, and it's Bobby Witt Jr. And they're going to keep drafting. We talked about this. We might have talked about this during a break. We may have talked about this during a show a couple days ago. But you're always going to draft shortstops out of high school because every great high school player is playing shortstop, center field, or catching if you're a position player. So they're going to always have options there. You can move some catchers to first base. You can move outfielders around. You can move the shortstops to second or third. You have all of these array of options that are coming up the system. The thing with Bobby Witt is that he's really close. Like the Royals as a World Series contender again are doing it with Bobby Witt Jr. on the roster. That is already kind of set there. So I think that there's a false equivalence or an unnecessary rush, I guess, on some of it, which I understand the frustration because some of the most frustrating, no one is ever really that frustrated at bad baseball players or even fringe baseball players. I don't think people are that mad at Nicky Lopez. We kind of know what he is, and he performs to that level with his inconsistencies pretty frequently. Just kind of what he is. The guys that frustrate you are the guys that you think have this limitless potential who just simply aren't able to achieve it. I mean, this is a bad example, but Sammy Watkins versus DeMarcus Robinson, at least for me, Sammy Watkins was frustrating because you saw it. For DeMarcus Robinson, he's a role player that can do some things well. Cool, that's fine. I don't stay up at night thinking, man, I wish DeMarcus Robinson could put it all together because I'm not thinking that way. Mondesi gets people worked up because you can clearly see it. Yeah, it's right there.
Well, I mean, but when he came back from his injuries, like all he was doing was crushing the baseball. Yep, like that. Like it was a relatively again like short sample size for this year, but all he's done this year in the 10 games or so, however many games it's been, is hit the baseball really hard. Even when he was out, like getting out, like he was hitting the baseball really, really hard. Like he was doing everything. So far what we've seen since last August, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like we've seen is Mondesi crush the baseball.
Yeah, and play excellent defense.
Yes,
that's the other thing.
Yeah,
right.
And also not play baseball at all because of injuries. And I understand. Like I understand frustrations, especially because they always seem to be relatively minor. Right. It's not necessarily this big injury. It is a muscle pull that's 10 games here, and then it's 20 games here, and it's 15 games here. And I understand the frustrations. The Royals are in no position to want to or to try to move on from him. He is a 25-year-old who has shown production again over his last essentially 3 months of playing baseball. Yeah. Odds are the injury thing, that's just him. More than likely that'll just be him. Maybe one day all of a sudden he stops getting hurt because just the human body is just different, right? Maybe that's part of him just learning that, hey, I have to stop running as much, right? Like that. Maybe that's him not trying to steal as many bases, just like whatever that is, right? Like maybe it happens. It probably won't. Mondesi probably is what he is. The Royals though are just not. This is not a team that has 4 shortstops ready for the big leagues. Like knocking on the door, like it'd be Mondesi is not taking anybody's roster spot. Yeah. He's a wildly talented player. He's 25. Is it frustrated? Absolutely. The Royals are not in a position right now to be like moving on from him or to even be looking at moving on from him. A year from now, maybe it's a completely different story. Yeah. It's just not where they're at. Yeah. Lenexa points out like, he says he needs to go no matter what. Enough is enough. Same with Duffy. And one, Danny Duffy, again, sucks that the injury came at the worst time because Danny Duffy was pitching amazing. And so this is not even a perfect scenario because Danny Duffy was pitching the best baseball of his life. But Danny Duffy at his average, maybe you make the argument, hey, it is time to move on because the Royals have like 20 pitchers coming up, right? Like there are guys maybe there who you could be like, maybe that guy's better. The argument's not as great this year because Danny Duffy was pitching the best baseball of his life. But there's at least guys there, right? Yeah. Mondesi's not preventing anybody from the big leagues.
Here's the last 2 things on that. One is basically that last point. You want to get Mondesi out of here so bad for what? Because it's not Nicky Lopez. I'd rather see Mondesi continue to get hurt and try to come back again than to just have Nicky Lopez play there.
And it's not Bobby Witt Jr.
because he's
he
not
can play
up yet.
third.
And he's also just not on the Major League roster yet.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to call it Bobby Witt today or tomorrow, like, you can. And there are multiple spots you can put him. Bobby Witt's not the reason why Bobby Witt's not in the big leagues has nothing to do with Mondesi. Like, just nothing whatsoever.
The other thing, though, maybe the most important thing, is I am not ready to say enough is enough about a 25-year-old shortstop.
Exactly.
I just don't. There's no reason to push yourself to his upcoming contract right now. You got a minute.
You got 2 years. If at the end of arbitration you're still dealing, or the end of his controlled service, you're still dealing with this issue, then you know what? Maybe you just let him walk in free agency. Maybe you know what? Maybe you don't get a ton for him, but but the reality is, if that situation, if you're just dealing with injuries, then you know what? You're just not going to get anything for him anyways, right?
Yeah. I was going to throw it a break, but now we're not breaking. So that was, I don't know if I have 2 more minutes of Mondesi talk. I was going to take a break and then come back and tell you about my day today. How much time are we going to have here, Beards?
Like a minute and a half.
So here's what happened to me today. I got a new car from our friends over at Victory Ford about almost exactly 2 months ago. And along this process, I have waited till the last possible minute to do things like getting it registered. And I've never bought a car on the Missouri side. I bought the car on the Kansas side, and I live on the Missouri side. There's a whole property tax thing that I just have no experience with at all. But today, I went to the Jackson County Courthouse, which is apparently where you do this. I was tweeting about it, and several people were like, yeah, so why are you at the Jackson County Courthouse? I was like, great point. Thank you for asking. I will clarify. No, it's not because I broke into Brett Veach's house and demanded that he re-sign Bashad Breeland. That is not what happened. Please stop saying that's what happened. But I went in, and I did the whole, there's an app to virtually hold your place in line and everything, which is obviously, ideal. But it got to the point where I was almost there, and I came up to a spot in line. Well, that's not. You can hit a thing that's supposed to give you more time in the app. It also will text you like, "Hey, you're in line. Do you need more time?" And I was trying to park and I got to get up the elevator and everything. So I responded. Well, in fact, let me read this. Status update from KC Downtown Assessment. There are now 3 people ahead of you. Your estimated wait is 18 minutes. Need more time than that? Reply with M. I didn't see this until 10 minutes later. I was not 8 minutes away yet. So I respond with M. It responds back to me. Okay, we pushed your spot all the way to the back of the line to give you as much time as we can. Your estimated wait now is 397 minutes. I respond in all caps, help! And then it says, reply stop to unsubscribe. Message and data rates may apply. Everyone who worked there was unendingly pleasant and helpful, and I did have to end up sort of getting back in line. I didn't have to wait 397 minutes, which is, I think, the title of that movie where what's-his-name gets caught in a rock and has to break his arm and saw it off.
Dave Franco, yeah.
I almost said James Franco, but I knew it wasn't James Franco.
No, I mean, it is James Franco. Dave Franco's his brother.
It's Dave Franco, right?
No, James.
It is. You said Dave.
Yeah, that was the joke. His
is
brother.
It James Franco?
James Franco did the movie.
James Franco was in that movie?
Dave Franco's his brother.
David Lesky's next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Philadelphia took care of business. 129-112 the final. Seth Curry with 30, 28, and 9 boards for Tobias Harris as the Sixers take the series 4-1. Embiid, with a partial tear in his right meniscus, is listed as day-to-day. Fourth quarter at Madison Square Garden, and Atlanta in control with a little more than 3 minutes to go, up 16 on the next 96-80. It's a 3-1 series lead for the Hawks. They're trying to close it out. First quarter in Utah, the Jazz have jumped out on top of Memphis 28-12. 6.5 to go in the first. 28 points already for Utah, which leads the series 3-1. Coming up in L.A., Game 5, Clippers in Dallas. That series tied at 2. Duke men's basketball coach Mike Krzyzewski announcing this upcoming season will be his 42nd and last. John Shire, his coach in waiting now. ESPN college basketball analyst Jay Billis, a former player and coach under Krzyzewski, says this is the right move.
The logical next step for Duke. It's a young man who has made his bones both as a player and as an assistant at Duke and knows the program backward and forward. So it certainly makes sense.
That is Jay Billis, and of course Mike Krzyzewski has won 5 national championships at Duke. NHL playoffs, Montreal with the lead on Winnipeg in the third at 3-1. That's the first game of the second round series.
Hey, it's Greeny, and the end is near for Coach K. One more season, and he will end his legendary career. We'll be talking about that and a whole lot more with me. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
He had 2 homers, and they were both to Vogelbach of the Mariners, who is a large adult son, and he, he's so much fun to watch. Not because he's good, but he's just a big boy, and I like watching big boys.
With Joshua Brisco.
Fun. I like watching big boys hit.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Last week, David Lesky of Inside the Crown on Twitter at DB Lesky returned in studio for the first time in a very long time. So good to have him back in the building. This week I texted him and he said, "Is Rudy going to be there?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'll do it over the phone." So
Understandable.
David Lesky joins us over the phone right now. No other understandings of that situation, I believe, right, Lesky? I think I represented that well.
That is exactly it.
Lot.
It's true.
Because I was like, "Hey, do you want to come in?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And then like he tuned in while he was driving in actually, and heard you talking, and was like, "Well,
I'm actually just pacing around that fountain nearby."
If you hang out in the parking lot a little bit, you might see there's a huge chunkin' raccoon that occasionally will go through the trash. And he's an unofficial mascot of this show in every possible way. So if you see him, just throw him a cheeseburger. I guess.
Have you named him?
No, because I think I've seen him like once. Beards, I think, has seen him once.
I've seen him twice.
You've seen him twice?
Yeah.
We have not named him yet, but maybe we should. I don't know. You have a suggestion?
I mean, I feel like if you're naming him, it's like Bobby Witt III, maybe.
I like that a lot, actually. BW3 is pretty good. Yeah, that's.
I feel like that's taken from something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a sponsor though. So yeah, we'll call him that.
Yeah. Until B Dubs wants to give us some. Honestly, we'll change his name to Buffalo Wild Wings Jr. if Buffalo Wild Wings wants to pay for the.
Just some wings. Just give me some free wings, and yeah.
We've talked about food a weird amount on this show, considering that like I'm not starving. I ate before the show, but it just keeps coming up, and I just keep wanting. Now I want breakfast food and chicken wings. I guess we're talking about breakfast food earlier. Here, let's have this question because we just talked about Mondesi for like 45 straight minutes, and my head's gonna explode. So if you could only eat one type of food for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I'm gonna filibuster for a second and try to get like the terms of this. You could say Mexican, you could say American, you could say Italian, you could say breakfast. I'm not just going by like ethnicity. We're going kind of vague genre categories.
Oh boy. So I mean, the first thing that came to mind was Mexican because I love Mexican, and here's what I love about it. It's so versatile. If you want to have tacos, yeah, you get tacos. If you want to have
Huevos rancheros. Sure, go for it.
Yeah.
You want to have chilaquiles, which my absolute favorite thing to make, eat everything. Chilaquiles, phenomenal. That's breakfast, that's lunch, that's any meal. So Mexicans got you covered. So I say Mexican.
How do you spell chilaquiles, and what are they?
Okay, so I don't know. It's CHILAQUILES, maybe.
Oh, it's one word. Holy smokes, that was far off. Okay,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
It is. So the way I describe there's a bunch of ways to make them. Look at let me give a plug to a restaurant in Scottsdale. The Mission on their weekend brunch has chilaquiles that when I'm down there, we have to go because it is so freaking good. They're kind of like breakfast nachos. It's the homemade chips and
I'm fanning
and
myself.
chicken
Right
with I do the green. I do the verde chilaquiles.
Mm-hmm.
You get the wonderful fried egg on top. Oh, I'm not even hungry, and I'm hungry.
Yes.
I'm about to just drive to Scottsdale. I'll be there by Saturday morning when they're open for chilaquiles.
I have made breakfast nachos before because it's just something that I wanted in my life. I didn't know that there was a name for it.
Well, sure. And I the other thing too, because I only get them like once a year, so
Yeah.
I have worked. I don't want to say tirelessly because I haven't worked that hard at it, but I have spent many months trying to get as close as humanly possible to the Mission chilaquiles, and I think I'm almost there. Which it's a good enough substitute between trips in March, but it's still got to go for the real thing. It's just so good, and they have like table side walk there. I'm doing a commercial for the Mission. If that's okay.
I don't think it can be payola if it's in Scottsdale and none of us are. I think we're probably
that's fair.
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's delicious. Now I really want chilaquiles, and I might have to go to the store to make some tomorrow.
Yeah, this is boy howdy. Costco has a green chili mix.
Yes.
That is really good. I'm thinking that as a starting point would check a lot of boxes for sort of a lazy recreation.
Well, yeah, the Frontera's green chili sauce with there's I forgot the name of the brand now. It starts with an H. They're in old school ketchup. It looks like old school ketchup.
Huh.
You combine those two. You got to marinate the chicken. Use the serrano peppers. It's a production, but it's totally worth it.
Use it with an H. There's the Herdays guacamole salsa.
No, it's
okay. Because
it's a verde sauce. You got to mix it with the Frontera's green chili sauce.
Okay.
It's a production. I'm telling you, but it's worth it.
The Herdays guacamole salsa is a staple.
That is also good.
In my refrigerator, it's fabulous. And Beards, do you guys want to talk about the Royals for an hour and 52, or for just 52 more minutes? Not even a full hour. You guys want to do that? I'm gonna go home and make some breakfast nachos. I think we could do that. This is very exciting. I'm glad that this is a part of my life. Also, now with a good sort of breakfast option, am I gonna be out on biscuits and gravy for the rest of my life? Yeah, but I'm gonna be able to have some good Mexican-inspired breakfast dishes.
But make them Mexican. Make Mexican biscuits and gravy. Come on, you can make anything Mexican, which is why Mexican's a total cheap answer to your question that you asked 7 minutes ago.
So I have now Googled Mexican biscuits and gravy, and it's erotic. Like, I am concerned about myself just looking at this right now. Because I think
you Google the right thing.
Like, it's just I never really had here's a recipe for Mexican chorizo gravy and biscuits.
I just found one, but it's that but cheesy.
It's cheesy Mexican chorizo gravy and biscuits.
Yep.
Why is it gravy and biscuits instead of biscuits and gravy? I don't know, but hot damn, it looks good.
Because in Spanish you say things you put the modifier after the noun. That's why.
Wow.
Exactly.
Is there anything you don't know? You've really just sort of walked in here and figuratively, not literally.
No, because Rudy's there. I'd be there otherwise. But no, there's nothing I don't know.
This is when you reveal that you also have a big thing of that you actually went to Scottsdale to bring us to the place. And I will call in also, Beards, and I'm gonna go do the show from the parking lot over the phone with Lesky. We're just gonna eat, and then you and Rudy can hang out in here.
Oh, just put it on speaker. One call.
That makes a lot more sense. That seems reasonable. Okay, I do have a couple Royals things. I'm gonna save mine to see. I'm gonna put it on the back burner right now. because we just spent enough time talking about it that I just don't know if I have the wherewithal at this point. But something that you just wrote about on Inside the Crown, insidethecrown.substack.com, or bit.ly/Lesky hates Bobby Witt, or Lesky hates money, or the Royals hate Lesky. I think all of those will get you there to insidethecrown.substack.com. You wrote about the Royals offense last night, and they popped off, and that was all good. And we'll talk about the sustainability of that and everything. But I really like what you were writing about Brady Singer. You kind of took a little extra notice of the I don't want to say meltdowns, because that's not totally fair. But whenever things have sort of started getting a little bit away from Brady Singer, we've seen some volatility from him. And you were keeping an eye on that last night, and I want you to talk about what you saw when you were especially paying close attention to that.
Well, I started paying attention to it in that Cleveland start against the Indians when Angel Hernandez was behind the plate, because if you remember that inning, it was brutal. I mean, it was Angel Hernandez in a nutshell. But Brady Singer, he gave up some runs after that, and it wasn't entirely his fault. But also, he just stopped making good pitches. You could see that he became more erratic and all that. And I started I'd heard some people mention that he kind of has some trouble keeping his emotions in check, and I thought, he's a bulldog.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he's a competitor. He loves to compete.
Yeah,
plays angry.
It's interesting to me, not to get too far off before I actually answer your question, but the discourse around a guy like Danny Duffy, who had some similar issues as far as the blow-up inning. Mm-hmm. It's just the way people talk about Singer versus Duffy is kind of maddening to me, because I feel like it's not fair to call one a head case, and it's not fair to call either a head case. Let's be real. But if you're going to say that Duffy is Singer not, there's an argument to be made there that they're very similar. And again, neither one is a head case. That is not the reality here. But it's just that there's Duffy got a lot of that for years, and he probably still would if he had a bad start this year, which he really hasn't. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I've kind of noticed that when things get bad out of Singer's control, it's not so much now. His splits are terrible with runners on, runners in scoring position versus bases empty. So I mean, maybe it is stuff that's within his control too. But it just seems like when the umpiring gets a little bit iffy, which is every minute of every game, basically.
Yes, correct.
Season.
Yes.
Unless you're that one guy, I forgot his name now already. But it just seems like he kind of loses it when that happens. And we saw it again last night. There was a very obvious strike call. And the next batter, it's a tough play. The ball went off his leg. He threw it away. Then I think he walked the guy just to prove that the error didn't matter. I'm fully convinced that he walked the guy so he could say, "Hey, I made an error, but whatever. The guy was going to be on second anyway because I walked the next guy." And then just the command was just not there, and you could kind of see it again on the second error that he made on the double play, or on what would have been the double play that he threw it to Nicky Lopez for some reason. Which, by the way, Nicky Lopez. Total side note, he threw that to first. And as I was watching the game, I'm like, he didn't get the guy at first, because I'm an idiot. There was no way that he was ever going to get him at first. But anyway, I thought that was funny that I was like, he made it. He's 300 feet down the right field line because he's that far past the bag. But it's just one of those things that I don't even know if it's 100% accurate every time at this point. But it really feels like he struggles. Brady Singer, struggles to keep it in check when things aren't going well. And then you start to think back, you're like, well, maybe we shouldn't have been celebrating a guy who screams at the rain. maybe that wasn't the best. Maybe that's not the way that you want to be. It's very interesting to me how certain people get framed as these massive competitors and bulldogs, and others are the opposite. And I think with Singer, if he can channel that to pitch incredibly well, a guy like Max Scherzer, right? He is a full red ass. And when he gets on the mound, he channels that to be Max Scherzer. Brady Singer, when he gets it, he throws a pitch 3 feet out of the strike zone. It's just he hasn't figured out how to channel it yet, and therefore it ends up being detrimental to him. And you look at the season he's having. We talked about this. I happened to this happens to be the second straight week that I've come on with you the day after Brady Singer started, the day of. I think it was the day of last time. But once again, 23rd start now of his career. He's not better than he was in his first start. And I think that there is. I think there's something he needs to figure out how to keep his emotions in better check, because I think it's causing problems on the mound. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. I think you'd rather have a guy who's passionate than not. So let's start with that. But also he's got to figure out a way when things aren't going right to not just completely lose all semblance of anything. And from a pitching standpoint, this is why it's hard to succeed with two pitches. Because if you don't have a pitch, his fastball moves a lot, his slider moves a lot. If you don't have a get me over pitch, I mean, you can't get yourself back on track. I think about Chris Bubich's start against the Brewers, whenever that was, a couple weeks ago. And in that sixth inning, you could tell he was starting to lose it. Everything was arm side and up. And what did he do? He went to his changeup. He went to his changeup because he could get through the pitch better. He could put it in the strike zone. He could get back on track. Brady Singer does not have that pitch that he can use. And so this is a mentality thing and a pitch thing. It means that he struggles to get back on track when he's in these situations. And it's been a problem his last two starts. And it's been a problem in other starts too. It's just it's now back to back, which makes it magnified even more. And it's an issue for the Royals they need to fix.
This is one of those times when I'm genuinely confused by something, and I think you'll probably be able to help me out with this.
Maybe.
I have pulled up. Well, here's the start. You're going to feel very at home. I've pulled up Brady Singer's Baseball Savant page. This is the first time I've gone to Baseball Savant and not just read clips of it in the newsletter. I don't understand, and maybe this is way more common than I think. There's a total chance that I am just turning around and showing the world my butt right now. I don't understand.
Or Anthony Sherman's butt.
And it's a nice change of pace. I don't understand a major league pitcher throwing a fastball 2% of the time, which is what Baseball Savant has for Brady Singer. It's 61. I'm not 100% sure if this is just this year, if this is his entire. I think this is everything. Going sinker 61% of the time, slider 32, and then you get a handful of changeups and a handful of fastballs. I just always assume that there's a fastball in there somewhere for major league pitchers.
Well, the sinker is a two-seam fastball.
Okay.
So Baseball Savant's a little bit weird. It only classifies one. The four-seam fastball is the only one that says fastball in the pitch classification. And so he doesn't – I don't even know that he throws the four-seamer. I think that sometimes the two-seamer gets classified as that because the way it moves.
Sure.
So, and he might. I mean, he might have a four-seamer. Brad Keller throws both. But, yeah, so the sinker is his fastball. It's just the way that Savant classifies it. It's you're not the first person to be confused by it. You might be the last. You might be the last.
This show might have fixed it for everybody.
We're good now. We got it.
Even outside of Savant and into just like how it works, then it for me at least further underlines, and maybe this is just how I've always thought about sinkers being different than I don't know, but like it makes it even more challenging for me to see a world in which a pitcher can do it with two pitches at a clip that you would expect from a top half starter in your rotation. Like, it just seems that I don't know. I guess here's the way that I could actually ask it as a question that you can solve for me is how many really successful major league pitchers are doing it with essentially two pitches?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I should look it up. I should know the answer. The thing is, you can get by with two pitches if you vary them a little bit. Like, he doesn't ever change speeds. You know, some guys can take something off their fastball, right? You've got a guy who you'll see it at 92 and then 96. It's one pitch, but it's really two pitches because it's a different look. A slider, you know, if he could, it doesn't have to be a changeup that he adds. It could be a splitter. It could be a curve. It could be more of a slurve so that he's got the tighter slider that he throws, but he also has a little bigger one. And that could be kind of a get me over pitch. You know, you're looking you're just looking for something that has a little bit of a different look and a different shape. And he just doesn't have that because his fastball, I mean, the velocity varies, but it's not from him. It's from him getting tired. In the first inning, he's throwing 95, and in the sixth inning, he's throwing 93. It's not that he's taking something off the fastball. It's that he can't throw it as hard because he's tired, and that's fine. But he doesn't have to have a pitch. He just has to be able to vary the pitches he has at least, and he just hasn't done that. And like we talked about last week, it's 23 starts. If this was 23 starts in a typical big league season, it would be like August or late July, and you'd say, wow, I can't wait to see what adjustments Brady Singer makes. But again, like we talked about last week too, he had an off season. And the thing that's tough for a guy like Singer is he has found success with two pitches at the big league level.
Yeah.
This is 2 starts ago. After his start 2 starts ago, you would look at his season and you go, well, he hasn't gotten much better than last year, but he was already like a 3 last season. So if that's what he is, that's what he is. And so being in the last 2 starts kind of skew things because he struggled against the Rays and then didn't pitch exceptionally well last night. I thought he looked good at times, which is better than against the Rays. He didn't look good at all in that game. So there was that. But it's tough when you have success to try something different. So that's why sometimes failure isn't the worst thing in the world because a guy will actually maybe change things up a little bit because they don't want to fail anymore. So I don't know. I think back to, I don't know which start it was. You may remember. But in his post-game press conference, somebody asked him about his change-ups, and he kind of like laughed them off as if, I don't need a change-up. But you do. And again, it doesn't have to be a change-up. That makes the most sense, but you got to have something else. And I keep going back to, you need it because you need a pitch that you can get over the plate. Yeah. You need a pitch that looks different, that you can get. I mean, guys get out of whack, and I personally, for pitchers who throw a changeup, I wrote this 2 weeks ago maybe, and it was about the Bubic start. The changeup allows you to get back in your delivery sometimes because you've got to stay through it so well that when you're tired and your arm might be lagging a little bit, you can't for that pitch to be good. And so it kind of gets you back. It maybe buys you 10 or 12 more pitches before you're out of the game. And, I think back to the Bubic start, he went to his changeup. I think he got a double play and then was able to get through 6 in that start and all that. And just Singer just doesn't have that. And so if one of his pitches isn't working, and it's kind of the same issue June has had before adding the cutter, which I don't know how much of a benefit that's actually been for him truly, but June was a 2-pitch pitcher and he got by for a couple of years and then didn't. And then he kind of had to figure something different out. So it's not without precedent on this very staff that a 2-pitch pitcher got caught. Brad Keller is another guy. I just combined Brady and Brad.
That could be terrifying, especially they have 4 arms.
Brady,
but only 2 pitches.
Kelsinger.
Brady Kelsinger sounds like a country singer.
It does, and his hit single, I don't have a changeup. But Keller, his fastball, he was mostly sinker slider, and then he really upped the slider usage, and then he added a 4-seamer. So now he's got a 4-seamer, a sinker, and a slider, and he throws a changeup occasionally. And obviously he hasn't had the best season, so maybe he's not the best example. But he's a guy who I think was really trying to get by on 2 pitches and didn't, and added to it. And Singer, look, there's time. It's not like he's a lost cause, obviously, but he's got to do something different because he needs to be able to get back into counts. He needs to be able to change eye level and timing and everything that pitchers need to do and all that. And he needs something. I don't think what he has will work long term as a starter. And maybe they don't need it to. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he could be a 3-inning reliever in 2024 on a team with 3 aces of 3 of the 47 pitching prospects they have, and so that could end up being the case too. But if he wants to be a starter, I do think he needs to figure something out a little different, and hopefully some struggles will make him kind of get back on that boat because I think he maybe was pitching too well early in the season to even think about changing anything.
I have to also point out how absolutely overwhelming the amount of things on Baseball Savant are, including, here's something that I didn't realize until I'd been looking at this page for 7 straight minutes. There's a GIF of a baseball by each pitch type.
Yeah.
And I saw it at one point, I was like, all right, that's cute. And then after 7 minutes of staring at it, I realized they're all rotating as that pitch type.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nonsense. That's ridiculous. It's the best. It is the best because you go like, well, his sinker's basically his fastball. I was thinking like, yeah, but what? Like, so what is how does that practically end up being different and what's unique about the two? And now I'm looking at them and I'm seeing 2 baseballs rotating in very similar ways, except for one is basically the seam is rotating vertically, the other one the seam's rotating horizontally. Like, I got it. It's all right. Got it. Because Baseball Savant apparently has all the information in the world. Can we get a football version of this, please? Can we get Football Savant? Somebody? I would like that. Can someone work on that?
It would be incredible. The guy who created Baseball Savant just got a job with, I believe, the Rangers. So, yeah, doing that gets you jobs in the majors.
It's also
and
Baseball Savant.
MLB.com bought it.
No, okay, it's also baseballsavant.mlb.com. So
Yeah.
I figured that he probably got it. Whenever Major League Baseball buys you, that probably works out pretty well in your favor.
Side note about that, you may not remember this. Back in the early days of the internet, yes, I'm old.
Very small chance I'm going to remember this.
MLB.com was a law firm.
Really?
Oh yeah, if you what is it, the internet Wayback Machine, whatever that.
Yeah.
You could, I think you got to go back to like 96, 97. But MLB.com was not Major League Baseball. It was MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Well, actually, back then it was HTTP :
right.
but they had to buy it from the law firm, and that law firm, I don't know what happened to it, but if I was the partners, I would say we're done practicing law because we don't need the money anymore.
Yeah.
And sorry to all of our clients. Good luck.
There is a snapshot here. Here's a snapshot from November 1996. Welcome to Morgan, Lewis, and Blockus LLP.
Yep.
MLB.com.
It's a funny side story too. I used to work with a guy who bought a bunch of URLs before the internet was popular.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
Bought them for like $250,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he was making like $15,000 a month selling the URL. Like, why? Where was I? Oh, right, I was in like 7th grade algebra or something. But
Right.
Still, I should have been doing it.
It was some Morgan Lewis and Bacchius LLP as of at least April 1999. I'm scrubbing through their history here. I'm trying to figure out when this changed hands.
It might have been after 2000. It was a while. I remember getting on the computers in the library at school and not being able to figure out, because I was too stupid to type MajorLeagueBaseball.com.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I guess there's no site, just a law firm.
Oh, that's very good. I'm continuing to scrub through this. In the meantime, I think 2003 looks like a real hotbed. So I think somewhere maybe in 2000 here. Give me where you're at with Adalberto Mondesi right now. That, as vaguely as it possible, you can take it wherever you want. Where are you at with Mondesi at the moment?
I mean, the thing is, we don't really know, right? He could be in the lineup tomorrow, and this is a whole conversation, 2 days of conversation about absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the Royals baby him. And I don't know that it's his fault necessarily. I think that they are very, very careful with him. And I think when he came off the field and he was like, hey, my hammy is a little bit tight, Matheny was like, all right, bubble wrap him up and put him in the clubhouse. We're done. And it could be that I'm wrong. It could be that it was serious. I don't know. But the way they talked about him on, I guess it was just yesterday, kind of sounded like they're not terribly worried. It was eerily similar to the way they talked about Jorge Soler on Sunday after he left the game on Saturday. Like almost to the word of he came in today feeling better. it was the same thing. And they're both leg issues. And Soler was apparently available last night. So, yeah, if Mondesi's, to me, if he's in the lineup by Saturday, let's say, it's nothing. It's just a whole, we wasted almost a week of discourse for no reason, which is, typical, but it's fine.
It's not wasted if it fills the airwaves.
That's true. It's not wasted if BW3 becomes a sponsor for it.
Exactly.
For the raccoon and the show.
Exactly.
But it's if he's out for a while, which again I don't know. I have this feeling that it's not anything serious because I feel like we would have heard something in the last couple of days. And then it's a conversation that you got to wonder what's the point of all this, and
all of this, life,
everything.
All
what's the
of
point
it.
of what? Come on, just
I ask myself that every day.
Get your beef and cheddar at Arby's.
Eat Arby's.
And just call it a day.
Mondesi's hurt. What's the point of all of this? Eat Arby's.
But and the thing is too, if he's out for 10 days, it happens. The timing looks really bad for him. But if it's 2 months, if it's 5 weeks, whatever, then you start to look at it and you go, well, okay, there something needs to change. The thing about Mondesi that I think is kind of interesting, there's this talk, he's always missing time. Well, he came up in 2018, and he played like 72 out of the last 80 games. Okay, that's
pretty good.
That's fine.
Pretty good.
If he's playing 144 games a year, you're fine with that.
Yep.
2019, he missed time with the shoulder.
Yep.
2020, he played 59 out of 60 games. Maybe he would have gotten hurt.
Right.
I don't know, but he didn't. He played the full season. So now you're looking at, okay, well, 2 half seasons, kind of, if you want to call the 60 a half season. And then in those, he didn't miss time. And in the 2 full seasons he has, I don't know. Are we overblowing it a little bit because the Royals talk about how important he is? Maybe a little bit. I think the other thing that we have to think about, I've talked about this with Suren too. I think the Royals' plan is to account for Mondesi playing 110 games a year. I think their absolute plan moving forward with Bobby Witt at third and Mondesi at shortstop is, we've probably talked about this too, and I've said this a million times, I feel like now, but it's the Astros plan, right? Carlos Correa does not play 162 games. He doesn't even play 130 games most years. He is in there for 100 to 115 games. And when he's out, Alex Bregman slides over and plays shortstop. They've got shortstop covered for 162 games. It's just not with the same person the whole time. And so I think the Royals' plan is that. And they've said, look, we've got a shortstop who can play third base, and he'll play third base in the games that Mondesi's in. He'll play shortstop in the games he's not. Well, we signed Hunter Dozier for 4 years so that he can slide to third base in the games that Witt slides to shortstop. I mean, I think that it seems to me that they've kind of got this all planned out, knowing that Mondesi's not a 150-game-a-year guy. And does that make it okay? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but if he puts on the show that he put on the last 22 games of 2020 and his 7 games this year, then yeah, you deal with that and you figure it out because you'd rather have 110 games of that than have him doing that for another team. That to me is the equation, and that's where they've landed. And so, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out tomorrow. If he like I said, if he's in the lineup hitting 5th, okay, we're done. I guess it's no big deal. If he's not in the lineup on Friday and Saturday, and then they put him on, if he's not in the lineup by Saturday and they don't put him on the injured list, that's just terrible roster management. But because they've had, what do they play? 3 games with Soler, 2 games with Soler unavailable, and then 1 game where he was available. But I don't know. I feel like if he was actually available when they were up by 5, they would have given him an at-bat to kind of get him back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's another story. They've been playing 2 guys down now, so. But I think we just kind of have to wait and see where he is because if he's on the field, who cares? It's over.
Yeah. The Carlos Correa thing is really interesting, and the idea that is a part of the plan is really interesting because there's a difference between, because like you said, does that make it okay? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's not, him missing time isn't really a choice. It's not a load management thing. It's just sort of we'll play him, and I mean, give him an off day here or there like you would for anybody, but
we'll find his spot, but in all likelihood, we're going to play him, except for whenever he's dealing with a hammy for 20 games here.
Yeah,
that
pretty much.
If he's giving you the other 140 or the other 120 or whatever, you probably take that. I guess the one thing that I've just seen a lot of is I think a lack of patience on some level, considering that he's 25. But also, I think it's a frustration that I think I'm stealing this from Alec Lewis, and you mentioned it earlier on the show as well. But it sort of becomes Sammy Watkins syndrome, where the fact that there is limitless potential there ends up being part of the frustration. Nobody's really mad at Nicky Lopez. He's just kind of the dude that he is, and you've got a spot that he can be in, and it'll be fine, and maybe it won't be great, whatever. For Mondesi, it's just such an enormous array of outcomes because it's being one of the best shortstops in baseball to being unavailable for huge swaths of time. And it just seems like that's created a lot of frustration, if my Twitter mentions in the Twitch chat are any indication.
Well, and the other thing about Mondesi, some of it's not his fault. He was up in the World Series in 2015. He should not have been. He was up in 2016. He did not deserve that call-up, but he didn't make the decision to call himself up. I mean, the Royals called him up, and they shouldn't have. 2017 starts the year on the roster. No, he should not. Whit Merrifield should have been the second baseman to start 2017. The fact that we've been seeing him on the big league roster for 6 seasons now, 7, 5, 6 full seasons, I guess, and then the postseason in 2015. It's not his fault. It's not his fault that he got called up for 3 straight seasons before he was even close to ready. Because when he came up in 2018, remember, that was a good year. That was a good half season when he came up midseason. I think that a lot of the disdain for Mondesi comes from the way the Royals handled him, and that's not fair to Mondesi. And he's a big league player. He's a big boy. He's got to handle that himself. But still, I think that there's a lot of impatience with him because it feels like he's been around for so long, but he should have been in Double-A when he was up in 2016, and that's not on him. Now, I will say, I'm gonna make you very happy here. There is a shortstop in the minors who I think might be pretty close to ready to come up.
Haven't heard of him.
Brady McConnell.
His name is Alcides Escobar. He is hitting over 370 in AAA.
Let's go.
You got to call this kid up and see what he can do.
You got to find out, man.
Alcides Escobar Jr. Let's go.
It's gotta be just you got to give him a stretch, right? And if he's up here and he stays hot, then maybe you look at you see what you could get for Mondesi because you've got your shortstop of the future.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think you get Escobar signed to a 6 to 10 year deal.
Yeah.
You could probably trade Mondesi and Witt at that point because what do you need them for, right?
Listen, based on what you're saying, I'm wondering, could he play shortstop? Could he essentially cover short and second? Does he have that range and you can play with 4 outfielders?
Well, the question is, do you want to cover short and second or short and third? Because, yes, he can do it. It's just which position, which second position do you want him at? And he's in AAA. They can work it out with him and figure it out. But I just wanted to point out this shortstop prospect just absolutely raking in AAA.
Yeah.
We could see him soon.
Yeah, we gotta see if we can get anything out of this kid. That sounds like that's a
6'10" slugging.
Really? Wow, power.
He started off like 1 for 14 or something like that, and literally just hasn't stopped hitting.
Rallied his way back for such a young guy. That's so impressive.
It is. It shows a lot of mental fortitude.
Yeah.
You like to see these young guys, like I said, you like to see them fail to see how they rebound.
Yeah.
And a kid like this, I think he can't miss.
You said it's pronounced Escobar?
Escobar.
Escobar. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we got to take a break. We'll let you go, but I'll Google him during the break, and maybe we'll talk about him a little bit whenever we come back as potentially the future of the position for the Royals.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading about him on Inside the Crown as well. So if you could get that cooking, I'd love that. With
perfect, I'm on it.
Breakfast nachos and Alcides Escobar talk. I'd like you to get that all going. David Lesky of Inside the Crown, InsideTheCrown.substack.com. You can follow him on Twitter at DBLesky. Tweet him your favorite Mexican breakfast foods, and also see if he'll give you any freebie little nuggets there for this new up and comer in the Royal system.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page. You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Yeah, well, you know what you can see, Beards? There's a specific phrase for exactly where this one big old hole in the sweater is.
Uh-huh.
You can see Russell Westbrook's underboob.
Yep. I wasn't going to say it. I was going to let you drown.
With Joshua Brisco.
I'm here. Drowning in the underboob.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
One more thing for you here tonight before we call it quits. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, 7 to 9:30 tomorrow night, because Suns-Lakers tips off at about 9:30. Coverage will begin here at 9:30 on Sports Radio 810.
Josh will only be here till 9, so he can drive home
Yeah.
to catch tip-off.
Yeah, you guys are going to – I told Scott that I wanted to have him – Scott's going to be on at 9, but he's going to just talk to you guys.
Gotcha.
Because I got to get home. That's not true. I'll be
You
here.
can just do it from the car.
Yeah, sure, I can call in.
You'll just be racing down the highway. We'll just hearing you honk at cars.
Yeah.
Maybe all of a sudden a police siren goes off. It's
I'm
like,
on
oh,
the
there we go.
curb. Yeah, it'll sound like a segment with Alec Lewis.
Yeah.
There's a piece of audio today that I thought was really important. And I got to say, it's also important that you see the visuals of this. Beards has seen and heard it. Rudy has not.
Oh.
It's wonderful. And I encourage you, if you hear the audio and like, this bleep's pretty funny, it gets funnier when you watch it. But audio medium and whatnot, and I still think it's important.
And my computer couldn't handle the video for Twitch.
No. Here is a news report from Fox 26 Houston about a domestic dispute.
Well, this might be a first. It's the first I've ever heard of this. A 32-year-old Houston man files suit against a stripper.
Yeah, he says he loaned the dancer money and he wants it back. But she says, hey, there's no such thing as stripper refunds.
Fox 26's Randy Wallace is live tonight from the Southwest Side nightclub where the couple met. Randy.
Melinda, she goes by the stage name Naomi, and she says that about a year ago she was dancing here at Treasures when she met a man named Robert Wallace. Now, the dancer and comedian says they were just friends, but to Robert Wallace, it was much more than that.
I have had situations in the past where customers have followed me home. I've had to move twice, switching gyms, switching jobs.
But having a customer sue her is a first for the statuesque dancer who calls herself Nomi.
He was becoming a regular, and we did become friends. I really like him as a friend, and I still do.
We had a dating relationship, and on May 3rd,
James Harden sounds a little
up.
weird. Robert Wallace says he loaned the dancer about $2,000, and he wants it back along with a laptop and some DVDs.
I don't believe in loans because I don't want to pay anybody back.
I know how stubborn she can be, so after a week of waiting for her to return my things, I decided to file a suit to get my stuff back.
Since the word loan doesn't seem to be in Nomi's vocabulary, and Robert says the cash and other items were not gifts, it looks like an out-of-court settlement is out of the question.
I've given him gifts too. You know, I mean, how do I get my booty and boobs back?
Still, both sides say they've learned a lesson. Robert says he's not dating any more strippers.
I did see it possibly ending this way.
And Nomi says there's no such thing as refunds, exchanges, or rain checks when strippers are involved.
No refunds in the strip club. I've even had people come up in there asking, oh, can he get a dance mail, pay me back next week? We ain't got no layaway plans either.
Now, there's no court date yet, but it looks like it will ultimately be up to a judge who decides who's right in this one, the dancer or the customer. Reporting live from Southwest Houston, Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
I've learned so much.
So there's a lot going on in here. Several things. First off, you can't actually see if you're just listening, I'm going to show Rudy a picture of the guy and the girl here.
James Harden, right? Like
No.
I thought it was a weird alias for James Harden.
No.
Also, he did change his voice a little bit.
Hang on,
but
hold that up and I'll zoom in on the camera as well.
I can only assume it's James Harden.
So he looks like, I said this, Beard said I passed on this comparison. He, to me, looks a bit like, without glasses, Peter Griffin come to life.
Oh boy, that's not bad.
And she is statuesque, as was described by a professional newsman.
And I'm not for sure, was her name actually Nomi or was it Naomi? And he just can't
she goes
say
by
it right?
Nomi.
Okay, so it probably is Nomi.
On the taped
Gotcha.
version, they got it live, not so much.
Gotcha. Understandable. I just thought maybe you saw the name Naomi and was like, how do I pronounce this?
So Several things.
I've been there.
First of all, this woman sounds very clearly to be in the right.
Yes.
In my mind.
Absolutely.
Two other things. One, this Robert Wallace fella seems like a fine enough guy. This relationship does not seem like the worst thing in the world, whatever it was. Couple things. Oh.
Sorry. I didn't realize I had my mic on when I took a drink. My bad.
Beards just took a disgusting slurp of his water bottle.
Listen, it is not worse than the sounds you make when you drink on air.
No, I'm not saying it's worse. I'm saying it was hard to watch.
I didn't realize I had my mic on there.
I know, and it was a beautiful moment. Rudy is red. Rudy, that really tickled Rudy, too.
That was good, man.
Oh, boy, howdy. Good stuff, Beards. I like that. That's a good...
Foley work on point.
I think the next... You are thirsty, much like Robert Wallace.
We're back.
Good save.
So, he, like... Whatever happened with them up to this point, he doesn't sound like a grade A bleep head.
Sure.
She doesn't sound like a bleep head.
Yeah.
Whatever. Step one is her going, we're friends. We were friends. We're still friends. I still like him as a friend. Smash cut. Incredible editing by the local news. Smash cut to, to me, it was, we were dating for a period of time, and then we broke up. And she was like, yeah, I mean, I've seen this dude before. We're friends.
Yeah.
We're friends.
We're friends.
Here's the other thing. We have now said Robert Wallace's name a few times.
Yeah.
This tweet has popped off pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, let's say, $2,000, a laptop, and DVDs, by the way.
I want to know what those
So
are.
funny.
$2,000, a touchscreen Samsung, and 7 copies of Over the Hedge.
Get him to the Greek.
Get him to the Greek, Over the Hedge, a copy of Fight Club, and a copy of Showgirls. Just on DVD.
Magic
also
Mike,
risky
of
business
course.
because we got to keep the irony going.
I like that also. Let's say it's a total of $3,000.
An in-game.
I think that's probably only on Blu-ray. This dude, it did not say Blu-rays, by the way. It
I
said
think
DVDs.
you can get in-game on DVD.
Oh, you're probably right. $3,000 is a significant amount of money.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay, fair enough. That's an L for me. I'll take it. If I got $3,000 out of nowhere, I'd be very happy about that.
Very true.
If I lost $3,000, I would be pretty been out of shape.
I'd be broken.
And broke.
I mean, emotionally broken.
That's right.
You wouldn't see me for like a month.
I'd be broke.
So I don't want to belittle $3,000.
Yeah.
But right now, it would be worth $3,000 if I was in Robert Wallace's shoes for this video, for this local news story to have never been made.
Oh, yeah.
This is way more hurtful than voluntarily going out here and saying, I would like $3,000 back.
And my guess is this guy, I don't know his financial situation, but not that he wants to lose $3,000, but I imagine if you've got it to give out, you're probably all right.
If you're making it rain,
you're probably all right.
You don't gamble or make it rain with money you can't afford to lose. That's what I have tattooed across my chest. You can't see it on Twitch, but it's down here.
Also, I have learned something from this video.
Yes, please.
I did not know this was an option, but I just wanted to declare right now, if Sally Mae and Discover, you're listening, I don't believe in loans. Why are we not, our society should be based off this principle. We don't believe in loans. I'm not paying my student loans anymore. Sally Mae, Discover, I don't believe in them.
I think she was inferring that she does not partake in loans.
No, she doesn't believe in them.
But you know what? I want you to have this one also. I'll take another L.
It's everything. We don't believe in loans.
It's just, I don't know what the cost is to be in this position to try to go get it back, knowing that, and then also to take it to the news, by the way.
It's good for her.
Yeah,
drum
great
up
for
some
her.
business.
Absolutely.
For him, it's not great.
It's not.
I don't know how much it necessarily hurts them, but it's not good.
Listen, man.
Right?
If they want to do a group GoFundMe,
it's not helping them any.
I'll give them both $5.
Nah, I need that $5.
Well, fair enough.
Gotta get that breakfast tomorrow morning.
It's just a bonkers story that is made. It's just made funnier by watching the video.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. Watch the video. It's visually funny as along with everything else that
And
it is.
it's relatively harmless. Nobody was violently harmed in this.
Yeah, we'll take
take this
was
win.
violently harmed in this also. That's what I've got tattooed over my belly button. I've got those two things. We're back at 7 o'clock tomorrow ahead of Suns Lakers. Until then, bye, Mom.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.